Chapter 1362. There's actually a clone with the same energy as the main body? This was the first time Yang Shuangji had encountered such a thing. Strictly speaking, he felt that this was not a clone at all. However, Yang Shuangji seemed to gradually understand the specific principle of using it as he dealt with the clones. These clones were all based on the main body, so as long as the main body was taken down, the clones would automatically disappear. At this moment, Yang Shuangji turned his gaze to Sun Yinger in the void. He spread out his right hand. Pestle. A purplish-gold Buddhist pestle with a ferocious beast carved on its head passed through layers of space walls and came to his hand. This was the Azura pestle that Yang Shuangji was proud of. The ferocious beast on its head was the hell beast that suppressed the 18 levels of hell. Although it was a Buddhist item, it had an extremely strong murderous aura. Sun Yinger's main body had yet to approach, but just by smelling the Azura pestle's aura, she felt that the void in front of her was filled with illusions. Everything was dyed blood red. Even the water vapor in the air seemed to have turned into a blood mist, making it difficult to breathe. Bas. Senior, why does she look like she's in pain? Zhao Qingxian asked curiously in the inner world. He did not know what had happened. From his perspective, it was still blue sky and white clouds. Everything was normal. This is the Azura blood illusion array of the Azura pestle. The more people kill, the harder it is to escape. Yang Shuangji sneered. She's trapped by my Azura pestle and can't escape for now. Everything in the illusion array is fake, and we're still in reality. Now, all we need to do is walk in and take down that girl. But who is this white-haired girl? She should be the one who refined her shadow into a magic treasure? Although I don't know how she did it, I'm slightly surprised. She's just a foundation establishment. Before Yang Shuangji could finish speaking, a shadow suddenly whipped out from the void and hit the right side of his face. Immediately afterward, Yang Shuangji's entire face began to distort. He quickly flew backward and crashed into a metal pier in the distance, causing the entire bridge to collapse. Although there was a huge commotion, Yang Shuangji himself did not seem to be too badly injured. After he got up from the pile of rubble, he was surprised to find that Sun Yinger had used her own strength to break free from the illusion. Humph! You didn't expect this, did you? Sun Yinger chuckled. The more people killed, the harder it was to escape? Sun Yinger smiled. Ever since she had turned into a shadow and became the master of the void, she had fought with many people from the war sect. But the problem was that she hadn't killed a single person. Not only did he not commit any murder, but he was also forced to accept Wang Ying's beatings every day. Thinking of this, Sun Yinger was about to cry out of grievance. In her grief and indignation, she broke free from the illusion of the Azura pestle almost immediately and gave Yang Shuangji a face-breaking punch. Although the split body hit the right side of the face, the power of this punch was enough. The damage from the backlash was reflected on the doppelganger in an instant, shattering it into pieces. However, Yang Shuangji's entire body flew very far away, but such an explosive punch did not cause any substantial damage to him. Sun Yinger was slightly surprised. The person in front of her was much stronger than she had imagined. Supreme Buddhism? She muttered. Just as the split body punched out, she saw a layer of Buddha's light protecting Yang Shuangji's body, although it was only for a moment. Sun Yinger was sure that she did not see wrong. In addition, there was the Azura pestle that was floating in the void. This was a powerful Buddhist world-defying magical artifact. And what made Sun Yinger even more shocked was that there was chaotic force flowing in it, at least 5% of it. Fortunately, her battle strength was not low, otherwise, she would have been done for. I don't know how the little girl inside refined the shadow into an artifact, but if you are willing to come with me, I can spare your master's life. I will only rape him, not kill him. Yang Shuangji said. You are a supreme Buddhism. How can you say such shameless words? I have lived for a long time. You are not a fake monk, are you? Sun Yinger listened to Yang Shuangji's words, feeling incredulous and a little funny at the same time. Also, what makes you think that I am a refined artifact? She felt that the fake monk in front of her had an inexplicable kind of conceit, and it was the kind of conceit of a frog in a well. Although Sun Yinger had heard that the Golden Lamp monk was also extremely confident in his own strength, at least he would reflect on himself. They were both supreme Buddhists, but why was the gap so big? Sun Yinger felt that the man in front of her was revealing something strange. If he was a fake monk, the holy aura he exuded was real, just like the golden lamp monk. If he was a real monk, Sun Yinger could not accept that such a thought, which was even more perverted than Wang Ying, would appear in the head of such a supreme Buddhism saint. Since that's the case, I'll take both of you down today. A threesome. Perhaps it will be more enjoyable. Yang Shuangji licked his lips. He manipulated the azure pestle, jumped up from a distance, and attacked Sun Yinger. At this time, Sun Yinger was still in deep shock. She thought that Wang Ying was perverted enough. She did not expect that there would be an even more perverted one. Sure enough, there was no limit to the realm of perversion. With such a comparison, Sun Yinger suddenly felt that Wang Ying was much more normal than Yang Shuangji. At the very least, Wang Ying had only used the planet wall tapping technique on her. Although it made her waist hurt, he did not do anything else that crossed the line. Compared to Yang Shuangji, Wang Ying was simply a gentleman. As long as I can restrain you, your split bodies will disappear. At this time, Yang Shuangji's laughter came from afar. His azure pestle burst out in full force at this moment, and the blood-colored Buddha light shone for thousands of miles, incomparably gorgeous, with a natural majesty in the awe-inspiring atmosphere. Those split bodies were all suppressed to the ground, like nails deeply embedded in the ground, unable to move. At the same time, the azure pestle fell on Sun Yinger's body to suppress it. That dense oppressive force caused the careless girl to be trapped. It's all that damn Wang Ying's fault. Sun Yinger was panicking. Her strength was restricted by Wang Ying, which allowed Yang Shuangji to have the upper hand at this time. Otherwise, how could a mere Yang Shuangji be her opponent? Yang Shuangji revealed a wretched expression. His tongue was very long, and when he pounced in front of Sun Yinger, he almost licked Sun Yinger's face. However, at this time, there was a buzzing sound. The huge black shadow that covered the sky and the earth suddenly did not come. The black shadow was like a tide, sweeping in from all directions, instantly sweeping Sun Yinger away. Yang Shuangji stuck out his tongue. In the end, he only licked her loneliness. At the critical moment, Sun Yinger was rescued. She felt a domineering force suddenly pulling her away, and she could not be more familiar with this force. It was that man who appeared. He was like a god appearing to save her, and then quickly swept Yang Shuangji into his inner world. Here. It was Wang Ying's inner world. Wang Ying. Sun Yinger was almost sobbing. All kinds of emotions intertwined in her heart. She was a little touched, but she was more disgusted by the tongue that Yang Shuangji had just stuck out. Who are you? Facing the man who suddenly appeared, Yang Shuangji was feeling depressed that he did not succeed. Touch my people? Wang Ying frowned. He stood with his hands behind his back, not even moving a finger. The countless shadows in the inner world turned into tens of millions of strips, and instantly attacked. You! Yang Shuangji's eyes were filled with horror. This power was too terrifying, and the Shura pestle that he was so proud of was snatched away by these strips of shadows, instantly swallowed up. That was the magic weapon that he was so proud of. Now that it was snatched away, Yang Shuangji instantly lost most of his sense of security. The countless strips rolled in from all directions, pulling Yang Shuangji's limbs, tightly wrapping him up. No! Yang Shuangji shouted, burning his own blood essence, wanting to resist. However, all of this was useless. Wang Ying's speed was too fast, his figure was as dense as a ghost, and instantly appeared in front of Yang Shuangji, stretching out his hand and strangling his neck. Yang Shuangji was in pain from being strangled, and the tongue in his mouth was forcefully squeezed out by Wang Ying. Wang Ying did not say anything, only to hear "chi." Another sound. He controlled the strips of shadows around him, and pulled out Yang Shuangji's entire tongue. However, to Wang Ying, all of this was just the beginning. You still haven't moved, where? Wang Ying stared at Yang Shuangji coldly. He began to torture at his own pace. In the inner world, Yang Shuangji's screams were heard. At this moment. This was a unique song that belonged to Wang Ying, the Shadow Dao execution song. Chapter 1363. Wang Ying didn't know why he hated Yang Shuangji so much. Maybe it was because of Yang Shuangji's insufferably arrogant face. Maybe it was because of Yang Shuangji's arrogant, complacent, and insufferably arrogant attitude. Or even simpler, it was simply because Yang Shuangji had bullied Sun Yinger. Mixed up with these emotions, the rage in Wang Ying's heart was on the verge of bursting out. There was no suspense in the ensuing battle. The only difference between them was the king's eye, and Yang Shuangji naturally wasn't Wang Ying's match. He strangled Yang Shuangji's neck, cut off his tongue, and finally broke his fingers one by one. These filthy, evil hands made Wang Ying's blood run cold and disgusting. Shadow Dao Execution Tune was the most terrifying of all Shadow Dao spells that Wang Ying had, and was ranked number 1. Its power was second only to the Shadow Ball which he had used to deal with the groundhog. But once it was carried out, it would make people experience the inhumane feeling of abuse. The heart-wrenching damage that would be transmitted would not cause one to die, but it would be able to destroy one's spirit through the continuous abuse. In the end, it collapsed. Shadow Ball was an immobilizing destructive spell. Every second spent in the Shadow Ball would cause damage equivalent to 1 slap from Wang Ling. But Wang Ying felt that using Shadow Ball to deal with someone like Yang Shuangji was going too easy on him. As for the Shadow Dao Execution Tune, it was perfect for Yang Shuangji. Like long spears, striped shadows attacked from all directions and pierced through Yang Shuangji's body. One of them pierced Yang Shuangji's mouth directly, piercing his throat all the way through and coming out through the soles of his feet. However, Wang Ying's abuse didn't stop there. His eyes were bloodshot as he entered a berserk state. This was a Wang Ying that Sun Yinger had never seen before. For a moment, the girl suddenly felt fear. In a berserk state, Wang Ying directed thousands of striped shadows to poke holes in Yang Shuangji's body. He kept repeating his actions. He was like an emotionless, ice-cold machine. Sun Yinger finally couldn't take it anymore. She stepped forward and hugged him from behind. "Enough, Wang Ying. He's already dead." This call finally brought Wang Ying back to his senses. The red light in his eyes receded. Peace returned to the inner world. All that was left was Yang Shuangji's corpse, which had been tortured beyond recognition. At this point, all the executions had been completed. Wang Ying stabbed her hand into Yang Shuangji's dantian. As soon as Yang Shuangji died, the inner world within him began to collapse. However, Wang Ying could sense that there was another person hidden in Yang Shuangji's inner world. Then, Zhao Qingxian was pulled out. Wang Ying grabbed Zhao Qingxian's neck, scaring him out of his wits. Senior, don't kill me. I was forced by him." The son of the Divine Realm's Zhao family's patriarch. Wang Ying read out this person's background. He also knew why Zhao Qingxian was hanging out with Yang Shuangji. Earlier, Zhao Qingxian had said, "He only has Lu Qingyi in his heart." This sentence actually saved Zhao Qingxian's life. He sensed that Zhao Qingxian bore no malice towards Lotus Sunday. In the end, Wang Ying brought Zhao Qingxian out of the inner world and threw him on the ground. "Thank you for not killing me, senior." Zhao Qingxian hurriedly kowtowed and begged for mercy. Someone as strong as Yang Shuangji had been abused by Wang Ying to the point where he couldn't even put up a fight. This kind of strength instantly gave Zhao Qingxian a clearer understanding of his trip to Earth. "Can you let go of me?" At that moment, Wang Ying frowned and asked. Sun Yinger was still hugging him like a koala bear. "Ah, sorry." Sun Yinger hurriedly let go. "But get this straight. I wasn't going to hug you just now." "I know. I didn't hug you because I wanted you to calm down because you were in a killing frenzy." "I know. It's all because your inner world is too cold." Wang Ying nodded. He allowed the young girl to make these seemingly weak arguments. "By the way, how did you know I was in danger?" Sun Yinger was curious. "You're too stupid. You could be in danger at any time," Wang Ying replied. "Who's stupid? I've been observing from the side for a long time. If it weren't for Miss Sun being in danger, I wouldn't have made a move. It's also not because the Lord predicted that you would be in danger, so he came," Wang Ying said expressionlessly. "You're not honest at all." "Humph," Sun Yinger said. "You're the same." Wang Ying shrugged and stared at Sun Yinger. "Tonight, you still owe me 200 punishments." "Why?" "You failed to protect Miss Sun, and you still need me to make a move. You're the Void Master." Wang Ying smiled coldly. "It's obviously you." When Sun Yinger heard Wang Ying's words, she wanted to go up and ruthlessly trample on Wang Ying's face, but she restrained her impulse in the end. She wanted to say that it was Wang Ying who restricted her ability. But when the words reached her mouth, she didn't dare to say it. She knew that once she said it, she would fall into Wang Ying's trap. He would definitely seize the opportunity to increase the number of punishments. It's just 200 times. Fine, I'll punish you. Sun Ying'er stomped her feet in exasperation. Then, she turned her gaze to Yang Shuangji, who was not even human anymore. What's going on with this person? The Lord has already divined this person's background, so I have to ask you, Wang Ying said. Ask me? What does it have to do with me? Sun Ying'er put her hands on her hips and put on an innocent expression. This person is not a Buddhist saint, Wang Ying said. How is that possible? Zhao Qingxian, who was still kneeling on the ground, looked shocked. But he clearly told me that he's Grandmaster Jin Deng's junior brother. Grandmaster Jin Deng's junior brother died a long time ago. How could a Buddhist disciple who was willing to die in order to save his senior brother possibly say these insulting words of Buddhism? Wang Ying said. After he said that, Sun Ying'er carefully observed Yang Shuangji, and the expression on her face suddenly became extremely surprised. Did you notice? Wang Ying asked. Sun Ying'er reached out, and a light seal appeared in her palm. It was the Void Master's seal. She reached out and covered Yang Shuangji's body. The blood-drenched body instantly turned into particles of light and disappeared. This is an imaginary creature? Yes, this person is an imaginary creature from the void world. He's also our old friend, Wang Ying said. Everyone knew that the minds of the void creatures were connected. They lived in the void and relied on all kinds of imagination to obtain spiritual satisfaction and pleasure. These imaginative things usually did not affect reality. However, there was still a very small probability that these imagination things would be reflected in real life. To put it bluntly, if the obsession was strong enough, they could use the power of the void to reimagine themselves. I know that the void creatures are now under strict control, so this kind of situation can't happen. But you need to know that your void world is not clean for a long time, Wang Ying said. Are you talking about the human cultivators who evolved into void creatures? Sun Ying'er was surprised. This is the only reason why a void creature would have such a strong obsession. Wang Ying said, Golden Deng's junior brother is not called Yang Shuangji. This person disguised himself as a Buddhist saint and changed his name to Yang Shuangji, which is actually a hint to his true identity. You're saying he is Yang, the symbol of day. Shuangji is Xia. It has the same sound as Xia. This person is still alive. Sun Ying'er was shocked. She had inherited all the energy and information of the old Void Master, so she naturally knew about this person. But this person was already dead. All the Bai Xia in the parallel worlds had been completely destroyed. I didn't think that there would be someone with such a strong obsession in this world. Wang Ying couldn't help but laugh. Bai Xia's obsession was unbelievable even to him. He was already dead. He even used the last remnant of his will to assume the identity of the deceased and forcefully filled in the gaps in his mind. P.S. For this chapter, see Chapter 1261, The Night of Demolition in 112660 High. Chapter 1364. The probability of imaginary creatures appearing in the void was very small, and generally speaking, there was no need to pay special attention to them, since they were just imagination, created by some very obsessive void creatures. Although this kind of imagination would be reflected in reality, it was like a dream, and would disappear as soon as one woke up. It was like a mirage that many people saw. But this was the first time even Sun Ying'er had seen such an obsessive imagination. In the records of the old Void Masters, there had never been an imaginary creature created by a void spirit that could live in the real world for more than 30 seconds. And Bai Xia's duration was beyond imagination. This kind of obsession was frightening. He'll probably appear again in the future. Sun Ying'er was very curious. Maybe, Wang Ying replied with a nod. I'm very curious what makes him so obsessed. Sun Ying'er didn't understand. He's not the main character, but he imagines himself to be the main character. That's the saddest thing about Bai Xia, Wang Ying said. So it's the obsession of being the main character. Sun Ying'er thought it was a little funny. So, is that why he imagines himself to be the main character and doesn't recognize Wang Ling? He's been killed many times by Commander Ling. Since he appears in the form of imagination, he naturally imagines himself to be invincible. After all, he imagines himself to be the main character, and would never imagine a memory that's bad for him. So, in his mind he's invincible. One last question. Why does he imagine himself to be someone who's already dead? Wang Ying replied, there's a basic rule for imagination, and the dead won't disturb the order. It would be interesting if he defied nature and imagined himself to be Commander Ling that day. So, maybe he'll use the identity of someone else who's already dead in the future. We have to be prepared. You have to protect Miss Sun at all times. He clearly didn't have much to do, but he forced himself to be the main character. Each time, Baizhi thought he was invincible, but he was killed time and time again. There was no doubt that he was a tragic character. I will. Sun Yinger nodded. But can you remove the restriction on me? No. Wang Ying refused Sun Yinger's request. Why? No reason, because I don't want to. When Wang Ying said that, he took the opportunity to grab Sun Yinger's hands, put them against a wall, and moved his face closer. They were so close that Sun Yinger could hear Wang Ying's breathing. Sun Yinger, pervert, Wang Ying sneered. Tonight, 200 times don't forget. With that, Wang Ying let go of Sun Yinger and disappeared with Zhao Qingxian in a black shadow. Hateful guy. Every time he uses so much force. Sun Yinger grumbled and rubbed her wrist that was hurting from being pinched. Just as he was about to return to Lotus Sun's side, he suddenly heard a loud boom behind him. Because Wang Ying had just been pushed against the wall. The wall behind her had actually collapsed. This was the outer wall of the villa, and it was at least 1,000 meters long. Now, a part of the wall had collapsed, forming a domino effect. The 1,000-meter wall began to collapse one after another. Sun Yinger was extremely shocked. After that, she understood something. That was, never let a man with a higher realm than you push you against the wall. Elsewhere, Wang Ying had dragged Zhao Qingxian to the Wang family's small villa. He could be spared the death penalty, but he couldn't be spared. Choosing to join Yang Shuangji's camp had already been a huge mistake. If it wasn't for his infatuation with Lu Qingyi, not even ashes would be left of Zhao Qingxian. Zhenren, spare me. I didn't join on purpose. I've admired Qingyi for a long time, but after I came to Earth, I was inexplicably brought to a detention center. Zhao Qingxian's eyes welled up with tears as he said this. He didn't know why this had happened. Zhao Qingxian was well aware that he couldn't hide anything at all, so he simply confessed everything. Wang Ling had already read the cause and effect of everything in Zhao Qingxian's mind. Overall, Zhao Qingxian could be considered honest. Furthermore, Zhao Qingxian couldn't be blamed entirely for being sent to a detention center. Zhao Qingxian had been sent down by the head of the Zhao family to make friends with Wang Zhen. Who would have thought that as soon as he came to Earth, Wang Zhen would plot against him and beat him up? He could be considered an unlucky kid. Then, Wang Ling waved his hand and motioned for Wang Ying to take Zhao Qingxian to Wei Ji's apartment for Gu Xuanji to supervise. He told Wang Ying to bring Zhao Qingxian to his side. He just wanted to know why Bai Zhe had come to Zhao Qingxian after he had imagined himself to be Yang Shuangji. He felt that there might be some key clue on Zhao Qingxian that Bai Zhe could use, which was why Bai Zhe had set his eyes on him. But what exactly? Wang Ling couldn't say for sure at the moment. Because this Bai Zhe hadn't explained anything to Zhao Qingxian before Wang Ying had killed him. And now, Zhao Qingxian was also in a state of confusion. He had no idea what had happened at all. I'll send you to a place where the Keeper of Order will supervise you. You have to behave, Wang Ying said as she stared at Zhao Qingxian at that moment. Yes. After you go back, when the soul change spell wears off, switch back to your original body. Don't cause any more trouble. You have to report everything you do in advance. Understood. Zhao Qingxian nodded. Also, there's something else I have to tell you. Wang Ying rubbed his chin thoughtfully. He had actually pondered for a long time whether to tell Zhao Qingxian this bad news, but he felt that since the matter was already settled, it was better to let Zhao Qingxian accept it sooner rather than later. Wang Ying, Miss Lu already has someone she likes. Although you're infatuated with her, I advise you not to harass her. Otherwise, you'll be dealt with very badly. Someone she likes? Who's the one she likes? I want to fight him one-on-one. Zhao Qingxian was furious and looked like he wanted nothing more than to rush forward and bite someone to death. Wang Zhen, Wang Ying said. Do you know him? Hearing this, Zhao Qingxian was alarmed. Aren't they at loggerheads? He's so sweet now, Wang Ying said. You can't force things when it comes to relationships. They're very close now, so whatever you do is useless. After Wang Ying said this, Zhao Qingxian's nose turned sour and he burst into tears on the spot. He took out the last of his belongings from his storage ring and kowtowed to Wang Ling. Zhenren, these 3 heavenly essence returning heart pills are my last life-saving measure. I beg you, help me. I can't live without Qingyi. Wang Ling. Next to him, Wang Ying didn't say anything, and directly dragged the crying Zhao Qingxian away. Heh. Not crispy noodle snacks. He still had the nerve to complain. Chapter 1365. Yang Shuangji's matter came to an end, and Zhao Qingxian was also under Gu Xuanji's supervision. But Wang Ling knew that this was actually just the beginning. Bai Zhe's obsession was stronger than Wang Ling had imagined. Even if he had already killed all the Bai Zhe in the parallel spaces, he still retained a strong obsession, filling in the gaps in their own imaginations in various ways. Then he appeared in this world, launching a meaningless challenge to himself. He was killed time and time again, but miraculously recovered time and time again. To Wang Ling, Bai Zhe's life was already legendary enough. Yang Shuangji. This was the first character that came to Bai Zhe's mind, and it was also the first sock puppet. Unfortunately, Bai Zhe died too quickly. There weren't any useful clues left. Judging from the current situation, the only useful information was Zhao Qingxian. He was the first person Bai Zhe had approached after his brain had recovered. Wang Ling currently didn't know what use Zhao Qingxian had for Bai Zhe. Therefore, he could only ask Gu Xuanji to help keep an eye on things. After seeing Zhao Qingxian off, Wang Ling started to flip through the book, Comprehensive Collection of Essays for Exams. After returning from the 9 Dragon Mountain National Competition, Crispy Noodles had written an essay for Wang Ling that had exploded in popularity. At that time, A Speck of Ashes of the Times had almost become his biggest label. Thus, his language teacher, Guan Ziqian, had forced him to participate in the essay competition this time. Before Sunday, he had to submit an essay and upload it to the national competition database through the online platform. Teacher Guan was a good person, and Wang Ling had to give him face. But he really didn't know if they could get a ranking or not. Of all the items that could be graded, the essay was actually the most difficult to control. This was because every marking teacher had a different impression of the essay. The same essay might give a completely different score. If Wang Ling wrote the essay himself, he would use the lowest standard, and it would be fine as long as he didn't deviate from the mark. Then, he opened the submission platform for the essay competition. He carefully reviewed the theme of the essay. Youth's feelings are always poems. Sitting in the morning to talk about lovesickness. Perhaps everyone has an unforgettable person in their youth. Please write your own topic and talk about whether you are currently in love. P.S. If you are a single dog, please use single dog as the title and talk about your views on single dogs. Wang Ling's lips twitched. This was an essay contest. Why are you scolding me? That night, on the moon, Wang Ying waited for Sun Yinger for a long time. The appointed time was 8 o'clock at night. Wang Ying had nothing to do and had been waiting here since 6 o'clock. In any case, it was very boring for Wang Ying to stay in Wang Ling's mental space, so she might as well stay here and wait for a chance to tease Sun Yinger. It was almost 8 o'clock, about 2 to 3 minutes until the hour. Sun Yinger's figure appeared. As usual, the girl was still dressed in dark clothing. She was wearing a deep burgundy lace dress decorated with sparkling black diamonds. The dark color of the dress set off Sun Yinger's snow-white skin, and the black waistband showed off her fine figure in one glance. These 2 days, Lotus Sun bought a lot of new clothes for Sun Yinger. However, Sun Yinger was a fan of dark-colored clothes. She wore them in black, purple, and gray. The only brighter color was the white lace on her skirt. Wang Ying was delighted and pulled the girl into her arms. Looks like you're ready to be punished. Sun Yinger fell into Wang Ying's arms and smiled sinisterly. Wang Ying, you've been tricked. The girl in her arms laughed as if her plan had succeeded, and then with a bang, her split body actually split again. This wasn't Sun Yinger's real body, but the nesting doll split trap. Sun Yinger knew that her real body couldn't use any of its abilities when it was next to Wang Ying, so she had already made preparations on Earth. At that moment, Sun Yinger was hiding in a corner of space, secretly delighted at her victory. She had actually been thinking about how to break Wang Ying's planet drumming spell. And now, she had finally developed a new unique skill. Nesting doll split trap, plus shadow coffin carrying spell. First, she would use the split body as bait to confuse the target. Then, when the target was very close, she would quickly split into 6 other split bodies. A total of 7 split bodies would instantly imprison the target. Starting from the head, limbs, waist and shoulders, the 7 split bodies would firmly fix these parts in place from bottom to top, and then lift them onto the target's shoulders. Then the most crucial step appeared. Once the target was placed on the shoulders of the 7 split bodies, the lifted target would be quickly cursed and then explode. It would be directly turned into ashes, and there wouldn't even be a need to buy a coffin. Therefore, Sun Yinger also named her newly developed unique skill, Shadow Coffin Carrying Spell. In just a few seconds, there was a huge explosion on the surface of the moon. It was accompanied by a loud boom. The 7 split bodies and Wang Ying perished together, leaving behind a huge crater that was thousands of feet wide. Wang Ying's aura had completely disappeared. Sun Yinger hid in the dark and observed. She had thought that after Wang Ying disappeared, she might feel happy, because she had finally broken free from the shackles of a pervert. However, it turned out that Sun Yinger wasn't as happy as she had imagined. On the contrary, there was a sense of emptiness in Sun Yinger's heart. This idiot, she's usually so smart. How did she really die from the explosion? Sun Yinger's expression was very complicated. She looked at the huge crater on the surface of the moon and felt Wang Ying's aura disappear, and a sense of loss arose in her heart. Idiot Wang Ying. Pervert Wang Ying. She stomped her feet and cursed in the dark, and there were already tears in her eyes. At this moment, Wang Ying's voice suddenly sounded from behind her. Miss me? In the deep and boundless darkness of the universe, a hand condensed from a black shadow and quickly materialized, pinching the girl's soft earlobe. You're not dead? Sun Yinger instantly held back her tears. I told you long ago, you're a stupid woman. You want to kill me with this kind of method? Wang Ying revealed his entire figure. He appeared from behind, grabbed the girl's hand, and pressed it against a meteorite. The girl's hand was grabbed, and Wang Ying pressed on her joints, causing her to gasp in pain. Don't push forward. It's very painful. Hearing this, Wang Ying loosened his grip a little, and slightly raised the corner of his lips. Now you know pain? Just you wait, one day I'll blow you up. Stubborn. Wang Ying smiled bitterly and shook his head. Just now, did you call me an idiot? I think you called me twice. The 6th rule is that every time you scold me in the future, you'll be hit 200 more times. So today's punishment is a total of 600 times. But you only made this rule today. Sun Yinger was unconvinced. I don't care. Wang Ying whispered in Sun Yinger's ear. I want to see you angry and exasperated, but unable to kill me. Sun Yinger. That night, under the inspiration of Sun Yinger, Wang Ying also upgraded his planet drumming technique. He changed it to multiple planet drumming technique. There were a total of 7 Wang Ying, and each of them pressed on a part of the girl's body. Once again, he smashed the planets in the Milky Way that had just been repaired into pieces. P.S. Watch this chapter and combine it with the video Black Man Coffin Bearers for better effect. You can search for it on Bilibili. Chapter 1366. Friday, December 4th. The monk paid another visit to Sister Sun's villa. With Sun Yinger's split nomological form, and the Heavenly Tao Magic Cube. The conditions needed to turn Mysterious C's Sword Spirit Space into a Super Sword Spirit container had been met. Monk Golden Lamp only needed to handle the operation to upgrade Mysterious C now, and there basically wouldn't be any problems. I'm here today to ask Miss Sun to come with me to the demon world, the monk said. The demon world? After upgrading into a Super Sword Spirit container, it needs to recognize its master as soon as possible. If it's on Earth, it'll cause too much of a stir. It'll attract attention. If it's in the demon world, it's actually just right, the monk said. He had actually thought for a long time about where to set up the altar, and in the end still chose the demon world. On one hand, second-generation demon saint and the demon world's holy envoy Shen Wuyue were on his side, and could provide some help. On the other hand, upgrading the Super Sword Spirit container would trigger another chaos heavenly tribulation. Earth had already completed its upgrade, so the demon world naturally couldn't fall behind. This was for the sake of checks and balances. The monk also felt that helping the demon world complete its upgrade this time would also help improve their relationship with the demon world. The main thing was that their ties with Battle Sect would become even deeper. Lotus Sun actually knew very little about the demon world, and the only thing she knew was that Loopy Toad was from there. Thus, her expression turned astonished once again. This heavenly Tao was created by classmate Wang Ling. Could it be the same in the demon world? The monk was already used to the girl's strange ancestral imagination. It wasn't created by Ling Zhenren. But I reckon that second-generation demon saint would be very happy to abdicate his position. Classmate Wang Ling will be demon saint in the demon world? Lotus Sun asked. Ling Zhenren doesn't have the time to worry about so many things. The monk smiled. Benefactor Toad is a ready-made demon saint seedling. Loopy Toad. Lotus Sun nodded thoughtfully. Speaking of which, it had been a while since she had seen Loopy Toad. When Earth was upgraded a while ago, Benefactor Toad accidentally swallowed the soul of a divine beast, and is currently cultivating in seclusion in the demon world. With Ling Zhenren's secret help, the speed at which it swallows the soul has greatly increased, and it'll be completed soon. The monk said, Miss Sun, you can go with me this time. You can understand the demonic world and also visit Benefactor Toad. All right, I'll listen to Senior. Lotus Sun nodded. The monk was very strong. She believed that her safety would not be a problem. In addition, Inger was always by her side. If they encountered a situation where they couldn't win, Wang Ying would also come. In terms of personality, Wang Ying and Wang Ling were very different. But as a shadow, Wang Ying had inherited one of Wang Ling's traits, peeping. Perhaps he had said something wrong. But Lotus Sun felt that there shouldn't be too many problems with her analysis. Senior Golden Lamp, how long will we be gone? Lotus Sun asked before leaving. It won't be long. I'll be back on the same day, the monk replied. Creating a super sword spirit container was not a difficult task for him. Moreover, he had already informed the demon world in advance about upgrading the altar, and had second-generation demon saint and Shen Wuyue make the necessary preparations. Miss Sun, please follow me. The monk performed a Buddhist salute, then took out a purple gold alms bowl from his world in the sleeve, and placed it on the ground. Then, he took a step forward and stepped on the mouth of the alms bowl. His entire body was instantly sucked in. This was the map teleportation magic artifact that the monk often used. Lotus Sun was a little nervous. She had never seen what the demon world was like, but curiosity drove her to take this step. The purple gold alms bowl's teleportation light was very gentle. There wasn't much discomfort. When she landed, Lotus Sun felt like a leaf floating on the surface of water as she was very gently teleported to the demon world. This was a rather retro tribal world. The girl stood on a high vantage point. Looking ahead, there wasn't a single particularly modern building in this vast area, and every place was filled with a simple and unadorned aura. The architectural style of the demon world was completely different from that of the human world. It was like visiting an ancient relic. Miss Sun, we're now at the center of the demon world, on top of the holy pillar. In other words, it's the place where the demon saint is, the monk said casually. He swept a glance at the magnificent retro palace behind him. That's where demon saint lives. At that moment, Sun Yinger chuckled. Rong Rong, did you know? Not everyone has the right to come to the holy pillar in the demon world. Even the 8 demon gods don't have the right to set foot on top of the holy pillar without permission. Sun Yinger wasn't exaggerating. On top of the holy pillar. This was a domain that symbolized the supreme power of the demon race and the supreme dignity of demon saint. Even demon gods didn't have the right to come here, but Lotus Sun did. Sun Yinger found it funny. Heh. It's Rong Rong's first time in the demon world, and she's already on top of the holy pillar. I don't know if I should say that Rong Rong is worthy of being the strongest foundation establishment cultivator on earth. And she's even my daughter. Before she could say the word woman, she blushed and berated Sun Yinger. What are you saying, Inger? Don't spout nonsense. Sun Yinger stuck out her tongue and then obediently shut up. They waited outside the temple for about a minute before second-generation demon saint and divine envoy Shen Wuyue hurried out of the palace to welcome them. Senior Golden Lamp and Miss Sun, I've kept you waiting. Shen Wuyue was the first to greet them, and then he bowed in apology. He looked at Lotus Sunday, I've long heard of Miss Sun's great name. Seeing you today, you're indeed extraordinary. Senior is too kind. The girl was a little embarrassed by the formality. We're all on the same side here, so you don't have to be nervous. Coming here is just like coming home. Shen Wuyue smiled. Miss Sun, are you interested in drinking deer blood soup? It can nourish your skin and prolong your life. It's a great tonic. Lotus Sun was puzzled. Deer blood soup. That's it. Saying this, Shen Wuyue plucked off his antlers. Rip. There was a loud sound. Blood instantly gushed out of the wound like a fountain. Thank you. No. No need. Lotus Sun was frightened. Then, Lord Demon Saint and Miss Sun, please come into the temple for a chat, second-generation Demon Saint said at that moment. Demon Saint. Lotus Sun was surprised. Realizing that he had let the cat out of the bag, second-generation Demon Saint looked a little embarrassed. At that moment, the monk smiled. To tell you the truth, Miss Sun, in fact, this poor monk was once Demon Saint in one reincarnation. But that was a long time ago. At that time, there was no ranking for Demon Saint, so this poor monk was once primordial Demon Saint. Senior's experience is really rich. Lotus Sun was so shocked that she couldn't speak. She instantly understood what Shen Wuyue meant. No wonder he said that coming here was just like coming home. She had thought that Shen Wuyue had read too much Gone in a Bottle. She hadn't expected Golden Lamp to have such an experience. Chapter 1367. The monk's rich life experience was breathtaking. He had been an emperor, a beggar, a demon saint, and had even played all kinds of female roles. Lotus Sun was utterly shocked. She felt that the monk might have already experienced all the professions in the world. After nearly 4,000 lives of reincarnation, what could he do? It could only be said that Senior Golden Lamp was indeed Senior Golden Lamp, as expected of a representative figure who had lived for a long time. Second-generation Demon Saint and Shen Wuyue led the way, and Lotus Sun followed closely behind them. She walked on the soft red carpet of Demon Saint's palace. Halfway there, she suddenly had a question in her heart. Senior Golden Lamp, I have a question. Miss Sun, there's no harm in asking. The monk smiled politely. Since Senior Golden Lamp has experienced so many professions, haven't you ever stopped being a monk? Lotus Sun asked. The journey of reincarnation is a very mystical path. No matter how I reincarnate, this poor monk's ultimate fate is to become a monk. This is unavoidable. It was during these countless experiences of new professions and finally becoming a monk that this poor monk realized life and the truth of Buddhism. The monk smiled, and there was a profound meaning in his words. Perhaps Miss Sun will feel powerless when I say this. But if Miss Sun has the opportunity to experience reincarnation, perhaps you will be able to comprehend it. Lotus Sun sank into thought at this. After carefully mulling it over, the girl raised her head again, and there was an unprecedented seriousness in her eyes. Senior, can you explain it more clearly? The monk narrowed his eyes slightly. His brain was translating all the scripture theories in his head, as he tried his best to explain them in plain language that ordinary people could understand. It actually wasn't a long process. A few seconds later, Lotus Sun heard Golden Lamp continue. Perhaps in this world, apart from Ling Zhenren who can't see his own fate, everyone's fate is predetermined. To be able to change one's fate is to defy the heavens. You see, this poor monk can reincarnate 1,000 times, but still can't escape the fate of being a monk. Like that marmot, no matter how hard it struggles, it can't escape its fate of being a marmot. Like that Bai Jia, no matter how many times he comes back to life, no matter what new form he takes, he will still be destroyed by Ling Zhenren's palm. And that Kuxuan, no matter how many times he changes, he can't escape his fate of being short. People can enter the cycle of reincarnation, but they can't escape their final fate. A person's dedication to love can also transcend the cycle of reincarnation. Even though it takes a long time. But as long as you endure it, there will come a day when it ends. At this point, the monk glanced at Lotus Sunday. He felt that what he was hinting at was very obvious. However, the girl's expression didn't change much. Sun Yinger, on the other hand, suddenly cried out in alarm. She sounded almost like she was about to cry, and second-generation Demon Saint and Shen Wuyue, who were leading the way, turned their heads in alarm. Sun Yinger said, Monk, are you lying to me? The monk was puzzled. I'm a poor monk, why would I lie? Sun Yinger cried even harder. Boo-hoo. You said that I can't escape the fate of reincarnation. Does that mean that in my next life, I will still be hit by that perverted Wang Ying? I'm so miserable. Everyone. With the girl's intelligence, she could naturally sense the deeper meaning behind the monk's words. When she saw Sun Yinger complaining, she actually felt a little envious. Wang Ying's initiative was far beyond Wang Ling's. She remembered that her Shifu Lu Qingyi had complained to her previously that people with the surname Wang were all blockheads. But not long after she said that, Wang Zhan had laid his cards on the table. And now, according to Wang Ying and Sun Yinger's situation, their shadows were about to merge again, but there was no sign of them at all. Classmate Wang Ling was just like a fighter among blockheads. Lord Primitive Demon Saint, the upgrade altar is just up ahead. Before she knew it, she had already been led to the inner palace of Demon Saint's palace. The upgrade altar was set up here. 12 simple stone pillars formed a circle with an umbrella-shaped spire. From a distance, it looked a little like a pavilion, but it was full of a mysterious, simple, and ritualistic feeling. On the side of the altar, second-generation Demon Saint and Shen Wuyue had set up an upgrade guide for the demon world. They planned to take advantage of the Sword Spirit's upgrade, and also benefit the demon world in passing. This upgrade array, which is supported by 12 ancient Sword King pillars, was set up according to Lord Primitive Demon Saint's will. Below the ground is the upgrade array disc, and I've already carefully checked all the array patterns to make sure nothing goes wrong. As for the top. At that moment, Shen Wuyue looked at the top of the altar. The girl next to him followed Shen Wuyue's gaze. She saw a crescent-shaped blade that gave off a faint blue light hanging at the very top of the spire. The blade was engraved with ancient characters, which were very grand and profound. This spirit beheading blade can only be supported by 12 ancient Sword King pillars at the same time. Shen Wuyue explained, to become a powerful sword spirit, you have to break down and then rebuild. As long as Miss Sun's mysterious sea goes through the slash, it will become a super sword spirit, which will greatly expand its sword spirit space. Finally, through the law of division, it will have the ability of an infinite sword spirit. As he explained, he marveled at the monk's generosity and Lotus Sun's good fortune. This girl's status was too high. She was actually able to make the monk take out his trump card and use it. During the upgrade process, the 12 ancient Sword King pillars would erupt with powerful energy, drawing in the chaotic energy of the universe, which would cause the spirit beheading blade to fall. Because the chaotic energy was too strong, the moment it fell, the ancient Sword King pillars would collapse. And after the spirit beheading blade completed its final mission, it would also directly fall apart. Everything on this upgrade altar was a one-time thing. It would definitely be destroyed after the upgrade. But the monk had used his experience of nearly 4,000 reincarnations to collect each of the items that made up the altar. These 12 ancient Sword King pillars and the spirit beheading blade alone were priceless treasures that cultivators in the present world couldn't measure with money. They came from the same place as Jinka, a place called Sword King World. Shen Wuyue had only heard of it from rumors. That place was a hell from which there was no return. Anything that got close would be crushed in an instant. The altar is set up pretty well. After inspecting the structure of the altar, the monk nodded with satisfaction. Now there's only one last step left. Then, he took out the Heavenly Tao magic cube from the universe in the sleeve. Once this thing appeared, it would resound throughout the world. His parents had raised second-generation Demon Saint for nothing. Both he and Shen Wuyue were terrified. Who would have thought that the monk would actually have such a godly object? Lord Primitive Demon Saint, could this be? That's right, the Heavenly Tao magic cube. The monk nodded. Your Excellency can even get your hands on this thing? It's not mine, I don't have the ability. The monk smiled. Ling Zhenren gave it to me to complete this upgrade. So it's a love token. Shen Wuyue was enlightened. On the side, Demon Saint echoed. Holy shit! The Heavenly Tao magic cube is a love token. As expected of Ling Zhenren. This thing is worth trillions of times more than a diamond ring. It's such a blessing to be Ling Zhenren's girlfriend. If it were me, I would marry him. Steam rose from Lotus Sun's ears again. Chapter 1368. The Heavenly Tao Magic Cube was a space-stabilizing auxiliary magic tool that Tao ancestor Wang had developed. Its value was self-evident. It was rumored that Tao ancestor Wang had created a total of 9 magic cubes. However, in Tyrant's 4,000 reincarnation experiences, he had only encountered the Heaven's Tesseract after clearing out the unspeakable lands. At this point, the Golden Lamp Monk actually had a deduction in his heart. That was, the remaining 8 magic cubes were most likely used by Tao ancestor Wang in other places to stabilize space. A Tao ancestor was so powerful that he definitely had more than one inner world. Even many of the Tao gods in the God realm were dual-core Tao gods. The 2 from the Wang clan and Gu clan had even cultivated to the level of 3 to 4 cores. If he was a Tao father, he would be able to give birth to an inner world that would definitely rise to a whole new level. Before Wang Ling had been born, Tao ancestor Wang was probably the only one who had been able to use the Heavenly Tao Magic Cube to place the core world outside. Now, the unspeakable land had been destroyed. In other words, Tao ancestor Wang had set up another 8 core worlds like the unspeakable land. If the main body was included, perhaps there would be dozens of them? The inner world represented the maximum amount of spiritual energy a cultivator could contain. The more cores there were, the stronger the spiritual energy would be. And Wang Ling's inner world. The monk guessed that it might be greater than Tao ancestor Wang. However, even if it was greater than the number, the monk didn't think that the difference would be too great. He was estimating Tao ancestor Wang's former level. Although monsters like Wang Ling had been born in the long river of history, Tao ancestor Wang himself had also continuously grown up in the cycle of reincarnation. Although Golden Lamp Monk didn't know where Tao ancestor Wang was. However, according to the overall estimation of the Tao ancestor's growth, Tao ancestor Wang probably had more than 100 core worlds in his body. Let's start. Everything was ready to upgrade Mysterious Sea, and the monk began to direct second-generation demon saint and Shen Wuyue to activate the upgrade altar. In an instant, the entire altar began to shake violently. A pillar of light shot into the sky, piercing through the clouds, causing the entire sky of the demon realm to instantly turn dark purple, emitting a powerful pressure. Has Demon Saint started? It's really going to upgrade the demon realm. At this moment, the demon realm was in an uproar. All the demons were looking at the sky eagerly. In the sky above the demon realm's sacred pillar, a strange light suddenly appeared, followed by a terrifying chaotic force, like a long spear, suddenly piercing the altar. A huge amount of energy poured down from the vault of heaven. Clouds steamed and rosy, falling from the highest point of the vault of heaven like a waterfall. This kind of scene was something the demon race had never seen before, and they were all amazed. For a moment, with the sacred pillar as the center, the entire monster world shook. The energy of chaotic force hit the altar, and at the same time, it began to be diverted by the guiding device that Tyrant had set up in advance. Violent waves spread from the top of the sacred pillar, and then expanded to the 108 domains of the demon realm. Like a mountain torrent, a deafening roar erupted. At the same time, countless illusions descended from the void. Everyone was shocked. This was an illusion produced by the impact of the chaotic energy. It was frightening and extremely destructive. Compared to the path of leveling up on Earth, leveling up in the demon realm seemed to be more bumpy than leveling up on Earth. Rong, run. Seeing this, Sun Yinger pulled Lotus Sun away and quickly retreated. What's this? Lotus Sun asked. Sun Yinger. It's a chaos illusion. There's a certain probability that it will happen when the power of chaotic force is used to level up the world. She reacted quickly and dragged Lotus Sun away almost immediately to avoid being hit directly by the core attack. Although Lotus Sun's body had already been blessed, Sun Yinger still felt that it was safer to do so. She had to make sure that Lotus Sun was absolutely safe. Heh. Otherwise, that big freak Wang Ying would use her as a pretext again. Monk Golden Lamp stood in the center of the storm of chaotic force. He raised his hand and put second-generation demon saint and Shen Wuyue into his inner world. The moment he did this, his whole body was enveloped in the illusion of chaotic force. Under the impact of the powerful chaotic force, from an outsider's point of view, the monk's body began to distort, as if he had been sucked into some vortex. But very quickly, this distorted force was forcibly corrected by the monk's powerful Buddhist light. A huge swastika character burst out of the monk's pupils. In a short time, Buddhist light interweaved, and in that moment, the supreme power of Buddhism surged out of the monk's body. Senior Golden Lamp is amazing. Even under Sun Yinger's protection, Lotus Sun could still feel the immense pressure of the chaotic force. Standing alone in the center, Monk Golden Lamp fought everything with brute force. He was simply incomparably valiant. Boom! The huge swastika character expanded continuously as it battered the chaotic force and crushed down on the strange beasts that had been created by the chaotic force. Lotus Sun was dazzled by everything. Divine Pond, Monk Golden Lamp was extraordinary and very handsome indeed. But she also weakly voiced her opinion. If its classmate Wang Ling, she couldn't go on with her words, because she felt that they might be a little inappropriate. In the end, Sun Yinger poured out everything she hadn't said. That's for sure. Ling Zhenren might be able to break this chaotic force with just a breath. To put it bluntly, the monk is handsome, but he's indeed a little showy. Sun Yinger actually didn't say this loudly, but when the monk who was resisting the attack heard it, he lost his balance and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. After several dozen seconds, the chaotic force was torn apart by the monk. At the same time, the chaotic force also ended. The strange phenomenon in the sky disappeared. After absorbing enough chaotic energy, the 12 ancient Sword King pillars instantly burst forth with light. After releasing the power of chaos that had accumulated in the pillars, they swiftly turned into powder and disintegrated on the spot. At the same time, the energy of the 12 pillars poured into the top, and in the end, Spirit Beheading Blade fell. A brilliant blue light burst forth from the Dhamma. Chi! Spirit Beheading Blade was extremely sharp, and when it cut through Mysterious C's body, it was split in two. The monk seized the opportunity to stuff the Heavenly Tao magic cube into the crack. Then he used the strength of his palm to reassemble Mysterious C, which had been split apart by Spirit Beheading Blade. This action took a lot of effort on the monk's part. He had clearly consumed a lot of spirit power in the process of merging Mysterious C, and it seemed to be even more difficult than resisting the chaotic force. The main reason was that this was the monk's first time using the Heavenly Tao magic cube, and he wasn't very familiar with it. Another reason was that he was being cautious. This was the only piece of the Heavenly Tao magic cube he had. If the fusion failed, it would really be a waste of God's gift. Even the monk himself couldn't forgive himself. Fortunately, the whole process went smoothly. Merge! A few minutes later, with the monk's explosive shout, Mysterious C, which had been split apart, was successfully merged back together. She was surprised to find that Mysterious C's appearance had also changed. Compared with the original Mysterious C, the current Mysterious C looked about 10 years older, and had become more mature and charismatic. She was wearing a gorgeous dark blue evening dress, and her blue eyes were like sapphires shining in the deep sea. Her silver-gray hair hung down, and there was a beautiful curl at the end like a wave. After fusing with the power of the Heavenly Tao magic cube, it's really extraordinary. After being released from the monk's inner world, second-generation demon Saint couldn't help exclaiming in admiration, "The sword spirit space of Miss Sun's Mysterious Sea Sword is now as vast as the inner world. Moreover, it has fused with Miss Ing Er's nomological division. Too strong." Shen Wuyue also sighed. A foundation establishment cultivator actually had an inner world. This was simply outrageous. But why doesn't Miss Sun look so happy? Second-generation demon Saint asked. Because Mysterious C has grown up, Sun Yinger said bluntly. Staring at Mysterious C's grown chest, she shrugged and sighed. It would be great if Rongrong was this big. Everyone, Sun Yinger, if Rongrong is big, I'll be big too. I actually don't care about that. Being small is good, and being big is also good. If it's a little bigger, I'll be able to use it as a shock absorber when Wang Ingqiu hits me. Everyone, Sun Yinger, when that time comes, it'll be like having 2 air shoes on your chest. How nice would that be? What nonsense are you talking about? Lotus Sun was both embarrassed and annoyed by his words. She wished she could sew Sun Yinger's mouth shut. Chapter 1369. December 4th, Friday. It was definitely a memorable day. In this world, there was one more foundation establishment cultivator whose combat power could rival the peak of Tao Master. If the label of being the daughter of a rich family was removed, she was just an ordinary girl. She was such an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator. In today's era where building foundation stage cultivators were as numerous as the hairs on an ox, such a realm was simply impossible to establish a foothold in the cultivation world. Until the girl pulled out her own level 99999999999 spiritual sword. Grasping the hilt of Mysterious C's sword, Lotus Sun sensed the powerful sword chi emanating from the upgraded Mysterious C. The current Mysterious C was indeed astonishingly strong. In a situation where he had not even unsheathed his sword, even if his sword chi had reached its peak state before leveling up, it would only be a drop in the ocean compared to his sword chi now. "Senior, can I try the sword?" Lotus Sun asked. Shen Wuye was greatly alarmed. "Miss Sun, please don't try it here. If you swing your sword down, the sacred pillar might collapse." Lotus Sun covered her mouth in surprise. "Is it really that powerful?" "Of course." Shen Wuye wiped his sweat. With Mysterious High's current sword, anyone below the Tao Master level would be killed. The power of nature was unparalleled. After Miss Sun's Mysterious C went through this upgrade, it's already incomparable. On the Universe Sword Spirits leaderboard, he can definitely be ranked in the top 10. Monk said. "I remember classmate Wang Ling has a peachwood sword." "You mean Lord Jinka?" "Lord Jinka would definitely come first. No one could surpass him. Furthermore, Lord Jinka has an upgraded form, and when he transforms into Lord Jingbai, no one can match him." Tyrant said. "And the second sword is Anticipate." "I know this, it's Senior Ojwa's spirit sword. But he seems a little dispirited right now," Lotus Sun said. "This penniless monk has also heard of this matter." The monk nodded and said, "But as far as this poor monk knows, Prediction seems to be without a scabbard. If we want to help him pull himself together, I think we can play matchmaker with Miss Mysterious C." "I don't think so." Before Lotus Sun could answer, Sun Yinger shook her head. The monk laughed. "Miss Yinger, what do you think is inappropriate?" Sun Yinger said, "My Rongrong is still single, but the sword spirit is first." The monk smiled and remained silent. It was said that a spirit sword was like its master. If Mysterious C succeeded, perhaps Master would be able to speed up as well. So he thought. Actually, not necessarily. However, the matchmaking between you and Mysterious C was ultimately just the monk's own joke. That was all he had to say, and he did not continue on this topic. In fact, even the monk didn't expect this. Mysterious C seemed to have taken it seriously. On the other side, in the Demon Realm's Mountain of Return, Loopy Toad was cultivating in seclusion here. This was a secret realm that Wang Ling had specially opened up for Loopy Toad in the demon world. Of course, Loopy Toad wouldn't be the only one benefiting from this secret land. After that, all the core members of the war sect who needed to go into seclusion to undergo tribulation could come here. In this secret realm, the flow of time would be accelerated. It greatly reduced the time spent on cultivation. It had swallowed the soul essence of a young divine beast, and according to the normal time, it would take at least a few hundred years to digest. But now, 3 days was enough. Furthermore, before it was completely digested, the signs of a breakthrough had already appeared. This was a good thing for Loopy Toad. Its only goal was to advance to a divine beast. As long as this goal was achieved, it would be enough. As for the rest of the divine beast soul, it could leave it to Little Silver. Strictly speaking, Little Silver was its junior brother, and as its eldest senior brother, it was only right for it to take care of him. At that moment, tribulation thunder rumbled in the sky above the Mountain of Return. The power of chaos surged up above, which made Loopy Toad feel a little dangerous. It didn't know if it was because the demon world had completed its upgrade at the same time, but it felt that the lightning tribulation sea above its head was particularly violent. The standard for a divine beast to undergo a tribulation was to endure at least 2% of the power of chaos. But now, in Loopy Toad's view, the power of chaos in the lightning tribulation sea in the sky was already seriously over the limit. What the hell is going on? Loopy Toad was stupefied. If this lightning tribulation struck, it felt that it wouldn't be able to survive on its own. Something was very wrong. Because in the next breath, Loopy Toad sensed that the power of chaos was so thick that even breathing was difficult. It was now more than 30%. Loopy Toad felt that it couldn't take it anymore. What happened to the agreed 2%? Had it been tricked? At the same time, BattleSec Seclusion Cellar Monitoring and Command Center swiftly made an emergency report in response to the sudden increase in the power of chaos on the Mountain of Return. The Mountain of Return. The power of chaos is abnormally thick. Brother Loopy Toad is in danger. In the command center, Cowan nervously made the report. After the disbandment of the SBP Foundation, he had officially joined Battlesect, and was also the first foreigner to do so. Why was this happening? After receiving the news, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal frowned and asked in Battlesec's core group, "Something doesn't seem right. Does anyone know what's going on?" Audiobook. Senior Golden Lamp said before that the concentration of the power of chaos in the lightning tribulation to advance to a divine beast was only 2%. Even if there was an anomaly, it wouldn't be more than 5%. This concentration is very abnormal. If it strikes down, I'm afraid that even this secret realm Sherfu set up in passing will be destroyed. Golden Lamp. Don't panic, everyone. I'm in the demon world. I was originally here to accompany Miss Lotus Sun to upgrade the mysterious sea. I didn't expect this to happen. I'm going to take a look. The monk didn't dare be sure of the specific situation until he saw it with his own eyes. But he already had some guesses in his heart. Lotus Sun, Senior Golden Lamp, what on earth is going on? Is Loopy Toad in danger? Golden Lamp said, "Don't worry, Miss Sun, with this poor monk here. There won't be any problems. Later you and Miss should stay outside the secret realm and never go in." In fact, when Golden Lamp said this, he himself felt a little weak. The concentration of the power of chaos in the lightning tribulation had already exceeded 30%, and it was still rising. Given his realm, 50% was already his limit. If it continued to rise, Golden Lamp felt that he might even be struck to ashes. When they arrived at the secret realm of the Mountain of Return without a hitch, the monk felt that the situation was more serious than he had imagined. Cracks had already appeared at the entrance to the secret realm. "We have to stop it as soon as possible." The monk frowned. Otherwise, if the secret realm was broken and the concentrated power of chaos inside gushed out, even the upgraded demon world would instantly fall apart. Thinking this, Monk Golden Lamp disregarded his own safety and stepped into the entrance of the secret realm. As soon as he entered, the monk immediately felt his knees sink sharply. The pressure brought about by this highly concentrated chaotic energy almost made him kneel down. He came back to his senses and looked at Loopy Toad. He saw that Loopy Toad's entire body had already been embedded in the ground and was almost squashed into a piece of dog meat. "Lord Primitive Demon Saint, what's the situation?" Second-generation Demon Saint was also very concerned about the situation inside. In the end, as soon as he walked in, his back foot straight away fell to his knees with a plop. Shan Wuyue followed second-generation Demon Saint, and as soon as he entered, he also fell to his knees next to second-generation Demon Saint with a plop. It was hard to imagine that a Demon Saint and a holy envoy would actually kneel so neatly. The corners of the monk's mouth twitched. What were they doing? Were they acting like Big Brother and sister-in-law Happy New Year? But it wasn't New Year yet. Chapter 1370. The phenomenon of the primal chaos energy density soaring in Origin Mountain was indeed a major event. The demon planet where the demon realm was located was hidden, but it was not too far away from Earth. If the primal chaos energy could no longer be suppressed and rushed out of the secret realm, it would cause the fiend star to explode. With the support of the chaotic force, the explosive power of the demon star would permeate the entire Milky Way galaxy. At that moment, Wang Ling was also reflecting. If it weren't for the fact that he had casually set up a cultivation secret realm, even if the density of the chaotic force had reached 100%, it wouldn't have been able to blow up his secret realm. However, it was already too late for regrets. The key was, he had to find out the reason for the sudden increase in the concentration of chaotic force and turn the situation around. Actually, Wang Ling had a rough idea about the abnormal surge. That was, the heavenly Dao magic cube created by Dao ancestor Wang was not only used as a stabilizer outside the inner world. At the same time, it should be able to balance the density of the universe space. Now, the unspeakable land had been destroyed, and one of the heavenly Dao magic cubes had fused with the mysterious sea. In a situation where there were no checks and balances, the abnormal phenomenon of the chaotic force would appear again in the future. First of all, apart from returning the heavenly Dao magic cube, there was actually another option in front of him. That was to create a new Heaven's Path Tesseract and replace it. However, if one of them was replaced, then the remaining 8 Heaven's Path magic cubes would have to be replaced as well. There was no other way. The Heaven's Path magic cube he created was simply too powerful. Perhaps its performance far surpassed that of the original version created by Tao ancestor Wang. If only one was created to replace the current loophole, there would still be no way for it to truly serve as a check and balance. Create Rubik's Cube? On the side of the pillow, Jinka shuddered slightly before transforming into his human form. He was also pondering Wang Ling's question. For Wang Ling, creating a new Rubik's Cube wasn't difficult. He just needed materials and a certain amount of time. However, the current situation was far more complicated than everyone had imagined. With Tao ancestor Wang's meticulous way of doing things, it was impossible for him to imagine that once the heavenly Tao magic cube was unable to form a restriction, it would create an abnormal imbalance in the strength of primal chaos in the universe. This was a terrifying matter. Thus, Wang Ling suspected that the remaining 8 heavenly Tao magic cubes might activate their revenge mechanism at any time. He snatched back the one that had fused with Mysterious Sea. However, it was still unknown what form the revenge would take. I'll have to trouble Bai Qiao to go. At his desk, Wang Ling cupped his chin as he carefully considered countermeasures. Right now, the most important thing was to solve the abnormality in the chaotic energy concentration in the secret land, and help Loopy Toad successfully transcend its tribulation and level up. Can't I go? Jinka asked. Mysterious Sea doesn't have a sheath spirit, Wang Ling replied. Although it was short and to the point, Jinka understood. This was because Mysterious Sea didn't have a sheath spirit. Even if he went there himself, he would not be able to complete the fusion. But if Bai Qiao went, the situation would be completely different. This decision. In fact, he was also helping Lotus Sun test her sword. In BattleSec's internal internet cafe, Bai Qiao put down her headphones. It was inevitable that this veteran otaku Bai Qiao felt a little uncomfortable being interrupted in the middle of a game. She scratched her head. So annoying. Can't you let me play the game properly? However, it was impossible for her not to give Wang Ling face. Thus Bai Qiao was swiftly pushed to the front line by the light of Lord Ma's teleportation. She had just approached the entrance to the secret land called Mountain of Origins. The powerful chaotic energy inside had already seeped out, and Bai Qiao's ahog fluttered wildly under the pressure, like seaweed in a powerful storm as it swayed in the wind. May I ask who you are? Lotus Sun asked the girl who had suddenly appeared in front of her. She saw that Bai Qiao was wearing a fire-breathing dragon one-piece pajamas and a pair of bright red headphones around her neck, which made her look very cute. I'm Lord Ling's woman, Bai Qiao replied. Under her control, the ahog on top of her head seemed to be turning around consciously. Seeing Lotus Sun's expression darken, she knew that her joke had gone too far, and she hurriedly corrected herself. Fine, I'm his sheath. Lord Ling asked me to help. The next second, Lotus Sun's expression immediately returned to normal. So you're Miss Bai Qiao. This change was so fast that Bai Qiao was caught off guard. You also have white hair. Is this author a white-haired freak? Sun Yinger actually knew who Bai Qiao was, but this was her first time meeting Bai Qiao, so she couldn't help feeling a little surprised when she saw Bai Qiao in person. Healer Knight Lilicon, Ku Xianbai Freak, both Wenzhou authors, a perfect match. Bai Qiao shrugged indifferently and was as venomous as ever. Let's put idle chatter aside. It's more important to solve the problem in front of us first. Miss Sun, please come with me. But Senior Golden Lamp said it's dangerous inside. Don't worry, I'm here. I won't be able to hurt Miss Sun, Bai Qiao said confidently. She added another layer of protective golden light to Lotus Sun's body, and then stepped into the secret realm. Then, thud. She knelt down next to Shan Wuyue. Shan Wuyue, second-generation demon saint, Loopy Toad, monk Golden Lamp under, Miss Bai Qiao, it's not the new year yet, there's no need to be so formal. I didn't expect the primal chaos concentration to be so high. Bai Qiao looked a little embarrassed, while Lotus Sun, who was behind her, was completely fine. Her physical body, which had been blessed, plus the golden light shield that Bai Qiao had personally set up, as well as Mysterious Sea's sword chi protection, allowed Lotus Sun to move freely even in such a strong primal chaos concentration. Apart from a slight lack of oxygen, she didn't feel any other discomfort. Bai Qiao patted the dust off her pajamas and got up from the ground. What's the situation now? Golden Lamp frowned. It's not optimistic. I've already struck the sky with my palm to disintegrate this primal chaos. But given the strength of my palm, I can't eradicate it all at once. I can only do my best to control the concentration. Bai Qiao nodded. After understanding the situation, she turned to Lotus Sunday. Miss Sun, why don't you try the sword first? Strike the sky and get a feel for it. Ha! Can I? Isn't it more important to control the situation first? Lotus Sun was stunned. Bai Qiao said expressionlessly, the secret land that Lord Ling set up must have a concentration of more than 65% before it collapses. It's only 40% now, and there's still time to spare. Lotus Sun never thought that Bai Qiao's purpose in letting her come in was actually for her to try the sword. And the reason why Bai Qiao had come here was because student Wang Ling had instructed her to. So, was student Wang Ling creating an opportunity for her to try the sword? At this thought, the girl's mood instantly improved. Thank you, student Wang Ling. Thank you, Miss Bai Qiao. Thank you, seniors. Then, I won't stand on ceremony. Soon after, Lotus Sun swiftly pulled Mysterious Sea out of its sheath, and a powerful sword chi, like a raging sea, burst out of the blade. Ha! Lotus Sun pointed her sword at the sky and slashed down. Rumble! Sword light seeped out of Mysterious Sea's sharp edge. At first, it was only a few inches long, but then it kept growing as it charged toward the sky. Surging sword intent reverberated like a heavenly Tao bell, accompanied by the sound of a tsunami. The terrifying pressure of the sword rushed toward the primal chaos that had been accumulating in the sky, causing the entire secret land to shine with blinding light. A Foundation establishment cultivator can actually slash out sword chi 10,000 meters long. At that moment, second-generation demon Saint and Shen Wuxia, who were kneeling on the ground, were stupefied. Chapter 1371. The thunder tribulation of transcendence and the heavenly tribulation of divine punishment all revolved around the power of thunder and lightning. Thunder was one of the most terrifying forces in the world. The lethality of the lightning tribulation and the heavenly tribulation would increase by thousands of times. Primal chaos was a terrifying energy that originated from the birth of the universe. Every time a world-defying artifact was infused with 1% chaotic energy, its power would increase by another 5%. Thunder and chaos. Once the two of them combined, they would form the chaos lightning. The terror of its might was naturally indescribable. However, it seemed that the most terrifying thing was not the chaotic lightning in the sky above the secret realm. Instead, it was a scene of a young girl who was only at the Foundation establishment stage fighting against the chaotic lightning. When the girl unsheathed her sword, her unswerving gaze moved people. Even though her cultivation was only at the Foundation establishment stage, her face still revealed a strong sense of confidence. When he drew his sword and slashed forward, the seemingly thin and weak figure seemed to have erupted with all his strength at this moment. A single sword strike was enough to topple a city, and it was eye-catching. Mysterious Sea stood out with a sword energy that was over 10,000 meters long. The sword intent of the raging sea howled forward, displaying the depth of the sea and the terrifying power to swallow all things. For a moment, the chaotic lightning and Mysterious Sea's sword intent collided. The two forces collided, causing energy to explode in the sky and sparks to fly in all directions. The successive explosions of light illuminated the sky of the secret realm as if it was plated with a layer of aurora. The light was dazzling and resplendent. Bas! In the void, Mysterious Sea revealed himself. She had already absorbed the power of tens of thousands of Mysterious Sea's doppelgangers in the sword spirit space. This caused Mysterious Sea's body to grow explosively. She appeared in the secret realm like a giant, towering between heaven and earth, shaking the heavens. Her beautiful and moving skirt was also enlarged infinitely. When it swayed, it emitted a boundless aura of the sea. Flood the golden mountain. Mysterious Sea shouted softly, his voice shaking the surroundings. As soon as she spoke, a large number of scriptures immediately appeared in the void and covered the sword chi that was charging towards the sky. Together, they exerted pressure on the highly concentrated chaotic lightning. Second-generation demon Saint and Shen Wuxia's mouths hadn't closed from beginning to end. Moreover, because the chaotic energy was too dense, they were still in a kneeling position. They were really kneeling to watch. The two forces collided, wearing each other down and restricting each other. After a few minutes, the light in the sky dimmed down. Mysterious Sea's attack could be considered a success. It managed to neutralize about 15% of the chaotic energy. A large area of primal chaos was dispersed, causing the density of the secret realm to drop temporarily. However, this also used up all of Mysterious Sea's accumulated power. It was impossible to use such a powerful city-toppling sword a second time in a short period of time. Calculating based on the same amount of power, it would take 12 hours of accumulation before the second strike could be executed. But as long as Lotus Sun didn't use up her savings, they could stack up. Mysterious Sea's sword spirit space was a super container that could be stacked up to 10 times at most. It's indeed powerful enough. Tyrant sighed. Mysterious Sea's attack did not completely eradicate the chaotic force, which was expected. Lotus Sun was indeed very strong, but she was still weaker than the monk. Even Tyrant's palm strike was unable to eradicate it, let alone Mysterious Sea's sword strike. The sword trial is over, so it's our turn now, Bai Qiao said at that moment. Understood. The monk nodded. Later, the moment Miss Bai Qiao and Mysterious Sea fuse, this poor monk will add golden Buddha light to your bodies. Combining all of our powers, we'll definitely be able to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Miss Bai Qiao, are you going to fuse with Mysterious Sea? Lotus Sun was surprised. Special circumstances, that's the only way. Bai Qiao's ahog spun. Then, her figure shifted and she turned back into a scabbard. Miss Sun, no need to be polite, be bold and use me. Lotus Sun, how do I do it? Bai Qiao, insert Mysterious Sea directly into my scabbard, and the fusion will be complete. Then, Miss Sun just needs to perform another slash like just now. Okay. Lotus Sun nodded. Following Bai Qiao's instructions, she inserted Mysterious Sea into the scabbard of her peachwood sword. Bai Qiao and Mysterious Sea combined. In a split second, a powerful force overflowed from Mysterious Sea in Lotus Sun's hand. Lotus Sun noticed that the shape of Mysterious Sea in her hand had also changed. The body of the sword, which had been alternating between blue and white, was now bright orange like a tangerine. At the same time, the newly fused sword spirit officially appeared in front of everyone. It was a blue-haired, orange-eyed woman who looked extremely elegant. Her hair had been coiled up, and Bai Qiao's ahog had turned into a hairpin which was inserted into her coiled hair. She was dressed in a gorgeous snow-white Taoist robe, and the long tail at the end dragged behind her like a wave, like the Milky Way hanging down. It was extremely beautiful. The woman opened her beautiful phoenix eyes, and her whole body shone like a gem at the bottom of the sea. She had the temperament of an empress, like a heavenly paragon from ancient times, and made people want to submit to her. My name is Bai Hai, the woman said. Her sweet voice was like the sound of a conch shell, but there was an astonishing aggressiveness hidden in it, and there was actually a sense of ancientness when she spoke. Then, she turned her head to look at the sky, which was filled with the power of primal chaos. Bai Hai hadn't made a move yet, but the monk could already sense the terrifying battle strength she was exuding. As expected of Miss Bai Qiao, he sighed in his heart. This fusion directly increased Mysterious Sea's battle prowess by another level from his original foundation. This was an astonishing improvement. But just to be on the safe side, the monk still didn't hesitate to open the swastika and apply a layer of golden Buddhist light on Bai Hai. In a split second, Bai Hai's body was covered in a layer of golden light, as if he was wearing a suit of golden armor, and the aura he gave off became even more powerful. Furthermore, because of this layer of golden Buddhist light, Lotus Sun's alluring sword, which would have taken her 12 hours to charge up, was instantly recharged with the monk's energy. Miss Sun, the time has come. The monk commanded at that moment. Yes, Senior. In response to the monk's words, she withstood the almost boiling power of primal chaos in the sky and slashed at the sky again. She brandished her own alluring sword. At that moment, snow-white sword Qi, like a wave, attacked the sky for the second time. The rich power of primal chaos collided with the white wave of sword Qi, causing the sword waves to boil, and dense steam accompanied by energy surged and tumbled endlessly. This sword Qi was 1,000,000 meters long. Like a watermelon knife, it instantly split the sky in two. Overwhelming power filled the entire sky and swiftly swallowed up all the power of primal chaos in the sky at a suffocating speed. A few seconds later, the rich power of primal chaos in the secret realm disappeared, and the primal chaos lightning that had fused with the lightning tribulation also dissipated. Warm sunlight shone down from the azure sky, sprinkling down on everyone's faces. The dissipating pressure was accompanied by an endless cool breeze that brushed against everyone's cheeks. The scene that had been so tense that they had almost collapsed. At that moment, Orange was in a great position. "Thank you for your hard work." Bai Hai turned around and smiled at Lotus Sunday. Then, her figure turned into particles of light and dissipated in the warm sunlight. Chapter 1372. Overall, it was a perfect fusion. But because it was their first time, Bai Hai's form was limited, and after Ching Ching's sword slashed down, his body couldn't help but dissipate. Bai Qiao split back up, her forehead beaded with sweat as she panted. Fusing with Mysterious Sea was too tiring. Because she was practically the main part of Mysterious Sea's battle strength, Mysterious Sea's original foundation of battle strength had been greatly improved. In contrast, Bai Qiao found that fusing with Jinka was still a little easier. At the very least, Jinka's battle strength was online. After the sword was inserted, the two became one. Bai Qiao basically didn't need to move herself. That was the difference. "Senior Bai Qiao, are you all right?" Lotus Sun hurriedly stepped forward to support Bai Qiao. She could feel Bai Qiao swaying and almost falling down. "Don't worry about me." Bai Qiao's voice was faint. As a veteran otaku who focused on games, she didn't like other people touching her body in human form. Sorry." Lotus Sun hurriedly let go. "Don't think that just because my lord helped you, you can do whatever you want." Bai Qiao blushed. For some reason, Lotus Sun's greeting just now had made her face burn a little. "I'm going back to play games." Her voice sounded a little hurried, and she turned into a brown spirit light as she left the place, almost as if she was fleeing. "Does Senior Bai Qiao hate me?" Lotus Sun looked a little puzzled. "I don't think so. It's all because Rong Rong is too charming." Sun Yinger giggled. Just like that, the sudden change came to an end, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Just a little bit more, and the Earth was going to be destroyed again. Fortunately, thanks to everyone's cooperation, this crisis didn't happen in the end. Loopy Toad shook its dog fur and jumped out of the pit. It had almost thought it was going to die just now. In the end, it hadn't expected it to pull through once again. A dog lives without purpose. Loopy Toad crawled out of the pit and couldn't help sighing with emotion as it looked at the blue sky in the secret land. There seemed to be something wrong with the idiom, "a dog lives without purpose." But it didn't matter. Loopy Toad felt that it was tailor-made for it. "Loopy Toad, the dog fur on your body seems to have turned greener." Lotus Sun ran over to pinch Loopy Toad's face, and found that its head was still as soft and bouncy as usual. "Rong Rong, you're too gentle." Sun Yinger chuckled and immediately started. "Watch me rub the dog's head." The touch was so tempting that even Monk Jin Deng couldn't help rubbing his hands together. "I'm coming too." Rub the dog's head in anger. Loopy Toad let everyone ravage it without the slightest bit of resistance. This time it would survive. Indeed, apart from Shan Wuyue and second-generation Demon Saint, he owed everyone here a favor. "Thank you, classmate Lotus Sunday. Thank you, everyone, for your help." Loopy Toad wagged its tail and thanked everyone from the bottom of its heart. "You should thank classmate Wang Ling," Lotus Sun smiled. "I've already decided. I'll follow Little Master Ling for the rest of my life and be his dog for the rest of my life," Loopy Toad said with a resolute look in its eyes. With a smile on her face, Lotus Sun rubbed her face as she asked, "But why do I feel like you haven't changed after becoming a divine beast?" "It's just that its fur is greener than before." "That's just a facade. Benefactor Toad's battle prowess has indeed improved by leaps and bounds. It's no longer the same as before." As the monk spoke, he turned his gaze to second-generation Demon Saint and Shen Wuyue. "Benefactor Toad can now hang them up and beat them up." "Loopy Toad is so strong," Lotus Sun exclaimed. Shen Wuyue, second-generation Demon Saint, Monk Jin Deng. "By the way, why are the two of you still kneeling?" Shen Wuyue and second-generation Demon Saint wanted to cry but had no tears. They had been kneeling for too long. Their legs were numb. Wang Ling heaved a long sigh of relief at his desk in his bedroom now that the matter of peeking at the mountain of backflow had been resolved. The disappearance of the chaos anomaly and Loopy Toad smoothly transcending its tribulation to become a divine beast was a good thing. But Wang Ling knew that things were far from over. He had a feeling that the remaining 8 Rubik's Cubes would definitely find a way to retrieve the one that had fused into Mysterious E's body in order to keep it in check. Thus, this matter needed to be considered at length. Wang Ling had wanted to call Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal to discuss this matter. But that wasn't the end of the trouble he was facing. Chinese teacher Guan Ziqian was calling. Even through the phone, Wang Ling knew that it definitely wasn't a good thing. Most likely they were here for the essay writing competition. He had finished writing his submission yesterday and handed it in. It was just that he hadn't expected that before the submission was published, each school's Chinese teacher would first conduct a content review to ensure that it didn't contain any sensitive content. Then, Teacher Guan had set his eyes on his composition, Single Dog. Wang Ling's idea for this composition was very simple, but he felt that it was completely in line with the standards and the theme of the composition. Looking at Teacher Guan's flashing cell phone number, Wang Ling thought carefully and felt that there was nothing wrong with what he had written. After a few seconds of stupefaction, Wang Ling picked up the phone. On the other end of the line, Guan Ziqian seemed a little angry. Wang Ling, you're just brushing me off again. What on earth is going on with this composition of yours? The teachers in the office and I in the Chinese team were all stunned. Wang Ling was silent and didn't say anything. Youth's feelings are always poetry. Such a good topic. Have you never thought of thanking you for what happened between you and classmate Lotus Sun? Thinking about what happened to you at the Xiao family compound fireworks party, I think you could have written a beautiful story. Teacher Guan did his best to provide Wang Ling with ideas. Fine, even if you don't write about what happened between you and classmate Lotus Sunday. Since you've decided to use Single Dog as the theme, you should start with the loneliness of youth. Hearing this, Wang Ling sighed in his heart. The loneliness of youth. In this world, it seemed that there was no one more lonely than him. Perhaps realizing that his tone had been a little fierce, Teacher Guan sighed in exasperation at Wang Ling's failure to meet his expectations. Wang Ling, maybe my tone was a little harsh. I apologize to you. But I also hope that you can understand my good intentions. There's no way someone who can write a composition like A Speck of Ashes in the Times could come up with a draft like this. Wang Ling wanted to cry but had no tears. The main thing was that he really hadn't written that thing. I know, classmate Wang Ling has always been a low-key person. Maybe you don't want to get a place at all. But you're a seated contestant that the teachers in our school's Chinese team have strongly recommended. Even if you don't want to write properly, you should at least fill up the paper, right? Teacher Guan tried his best to persuade him. Teacher Guan, the rule for compositions is indeed 800 words or less. Your composition actually isn't too off-topic. Actually, there are a lot of things you could have written about the theme of Single Dog. Teacher Guan. Then your entire composition only has the F** word, woof. Including the title, it's a total of 4 words. Classmate Wang Ling. Aren't you being too perfunctory? Chapter 1373. For Wang Ling, writing an essay wasn't difficult, but keeping his marks down was. Of all the test questions Wang Ling had encountered so far, it was the most difficult to keep his marks down. Because of his understanding of words, it was impossible to know what kind of marks a reading teacher would give you. Wang Ling remembered one year's college entrance exam, and the ending of an essay was, "Now it's long dead, but there's still a strange light in its eyes." The teacher who had set the question wanted the students to understand the meaning of this sentence. In the end, even the original author of the essay didn't know what it meant. In the end, at Teacher Guan's request, Wang Ling had no choice but to rewrite his essay. Wang Ling, can you submit it on Saturday? Teacher Guan asked. All submissions would be closed at midnight on Sundays. If Wang Ling couldn't submit his essay then, number 60 high would have wasted a quota for nothing. I'll try my best. Wang Ling sighed and answered helplessly. Okay, then I'll delete your essay from the review platform. Teacher Guan nodded happily. Wang Ling was about to hang up when he heard Guan Ziqian suddenly cry out, "Aya," on the other end of the line. Wang Ling? ? Guan Ziqian. Oh no! I think I clicked submit. Wang Ling. Holding his head, Teacher Guan felt a little frantic. F***K. This essay review platform is simply toxic. Why did I click the X button on the side for submission? At the thought of a 4-word essay that would appear in the eyes of the nation's language teaching experts. So this is what it feels like to look up at the starry sky and see nothing but darkness. Teacher Guan instantly despaired. Furthermore, Guan Ziqian thought that Wang Ling's essay was very likely to be number 60 high's lowest score in the essay competition over the years. It would also be the first essay to score 0. He definitely wouldn't get the title of Outstanding Teacher of the Year. Guan Ziqian couldn't help his tears rolling down his cheeks. After the call ended, Wang Ling felt that he had indeed let Teacher Guan down. The main thing was that he really hadn't expected that there would only be one quota for the essay competition this time. In every previous competition, each school would have at least 3 quotas. Teacher Guan had pushed hard in the language group, convinced all the teachers, and had a war of words with the scholars. In the end, number 60 high's language teachers had put all their bets on him. If he didn't win this time, Wang Ling felt that he might even cause Teacher Guan to lose his position as head of the language group's teaching and research group. It was a little difficult to deal with. Should he rewrite it, and then ask Wang Ming to hack into the back end and replace it? At that moment, this thought had already emerged in Wang Ling's mind. Now, this seemed to be the only way. He was about to call Wang Ming when grenade-throwing Senior Immortal suddenly sent him a text message. Brother Ling. The matter in the demon realm has been settled. Congratulations to Brother Dog for successfully crossing the tribulation and becoming a divine beast. However, I think we need to hold a meeting to discuss the abnormality of the primal chaos concentration. What do you think? Wang Ling replied with one word. It was a phenomenon related to the abnormal concentration of chaos. Wang Ling felt that his calculations probably wouldn't be wrong. It definitely had something to do with the loss of the heavenly magic cube. Even if grenade-throwing Senior Immortal hadn't come looking for him, Wang Ling had wanted him to start collecting the materials needed to make the new heavenly Dao magic cube. When the time came, he would use the meeting to explain what he needed. Currently, the battle sect had a vast network of connections, especially with regards to connections in other planets. This was a condition that no sect on Earth possessed. As long as battle sect stepped forward, the domain of the gods and divine Dao Star would have to give face and help. If anyone wasn't convinced, they could try challenging battle sect. But the result would be 100% failure. Oh, that's right, Brother Ling, there's actually one more thing. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal typed. I just saw that there are submissions for a national composition competition. One of them is about a single dog. I think the handwriting is a little like yours. Wang Ling. Compositions uploaded to the composition platform were all scanned by hand and imported into the system as images. 4 language teachers, neat handwriting and literary flair were in fact equally important for an excellent composition. As the saying went, a person's handwriting was like a person's, and beautiful handwriting was definitely a plus. But Wang Ling was still taken aback that grenade-throwing Senior Immortal could recognize Wang Ling's handwriting from just 4 words. This was because, for the sake of fairness, compositions submitted to the platform were all anonymous. Before the final results came out, none of the main evaluators in charge of grading would know who on earth the author of the composition was. If Brother Ling doesn't deny it, then it looks like you really wrote the composition. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said, I wasn't too sure before, so I sent it to Miss Lotus Sunday. Miss Sun had been deliberately imitating your handwriting all along. In the end, she could tell at a glance that it was you. Wang Ling. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal smiled. Actually, I'm one of the main evaluators for the composition in this competition. Wang Ling was blank. A total of 6 main judges have been selected for this competition, as well as a panel of 100 experts for a joint evaluation. But the main evaluators are responsible for grading the compositions. The panel of experts is just there to brag about the compositions. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said, apart from me, the remaining 5 main judges are Brother Zhua, Mr. Sunny Yuan, President Qi of the Magic Treasure Academy of Science, Secretary Sun of the Alliance of 10,000 Schools, and Wang Jiao. Wang Jiao. The corners of Wang Ling's mouth twitched. How many Wang Jiaos in this world? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal. Brother Ling, don't doubt your ears. The last judge is your father. For some reason, Wang Ling suddenly felt like he had been chosen. On the other side, Wang Ling's composition titled, Single Dog, was also swiftly included in the background information for the main evaluators. Grenade-throwing senior immortal had practically already made connections. Of all the main evaluators, the person with the most excited reaction was naturally none other than Old Man Sunday. His face was bright red as he stared at this four-word composition and slapped the table in praise. Good. Classmate Wang Ling's composition. It's very well written. Old man, calm down. Zhang Xiaoche couldn't take it anymore. There was a sour taste in his mouth. Look. Classmate Wang Ling's character is so well written. It's a very standard thin golden figure. Without more than 10 years of work, how could he have reached this level? But old master. Classmate Wang is only 16 years old. So what if he's 16? You don't allow him to write at the age of 1? Look, although classmate Wang Ling's composition only has the character Wang throughout, I think he's trying to express the meaning of the Great Tao in its simplest form. And didn't you notice that classmate Wang Ling's composition actually has a voice? Chapter 1374. Although he was excited, after Old Man Sun calmed down, he could still sense Wang Ling's intentions from his essay on The Great Way is the Simplest. This was a national-level competition. Although this essay was creative, it was too risky. Furthermore, given student Wang Ling's personality, it wasn't in his nature to participate in the national essay competition. Most likely, it was the language teacher at school who had pushed him to do so. So was it possible that student Wang Ling had never wanted to win the prize from the start? Old Man Sun frowned. Xiaoche, do you think student Wang Ling never wanted to win the championship? Zhang Xiaoche carefully pondered the meaning of Old Man Sun's words. The old man's fan filter was too strong now, and Zhang Xiaoche knew that he had to adjust his attitude toward Wang Ling as soon as possible. Even if he wasn't satisfied with Wang Ling, he still had to go along with Old Man Sun's wishes in front of him. Otherwise, it would be too late by the time Old Man Sun felt that he was annoying. I'm afraid so, sir. Zhang Xiaoche nodded regretfully, and then started to observe Old Man Sun's reaction. Sure enough. Sunny Yuan had a regretful expression on his face at first, and then he let out a long sigh. But this essay is really well written. Zhang Xiaoche. To be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that Sunny Yuan still had a trace of rationality left in him, he would have directly given Wang Ling a perfect score of 60. But in order to take care of Wang Ling's feelings at the same time, in the end, Old Man Sun didn't give specific marks for the essay. Instead, he directly submitted it to the New Concept Creativity Pool. The prize system for this national competition was actually very rich. Some essays that broke through the examination-oriented style could be awarded for the New Concept Essay Award, without being graded according to the examination-oriented style. This wasn't a championship award, so it didn't attract as much attention, but it was still a national award. Old Man Sun felt that this award was already enough for Wang Ling to answer to his language teacher. Sunny Yuan's idea was the same as everyone else's, plus grenade-throwing senior immortal and Audiobook were pulling strings behind the scenes. There was almost no doubt that Wang Ling's single dog essay would win the New Concept Essay Award. Sunny Yuan took a photo of Wang Ling's composition with his phone. Although it was only 4 words, the more he looked at them, the more he liked them. Do you know the name of student Wang Ling's language teacher? Sunny Yuan asked. His name is Guan Ziqian, Zhang Xiaoche answered quickly. Very good. Sunny Yuan nodded. Go back and inform Headmaster Chen to give Teacher Guan an award. Order of Commendation? To be able to teach such an outstanding student Wang Ling, Teacher Guan must also be an outstanding person. Old Man Sun stared at the photo on his phone and fell into a deep trance. Zhang Xiaoche. Wonderful, wonderful. This word was beautifully written. Little Che, go print this out. I want to frame it for my collection. Old Man Sun said, in the future, when Huaguo Water Curtain Group recruits new employees, as long as they can write good-looking golden calligraphy, I'll add 10 points to the overall evaluation. At this moment, Zhang Xiaoche's expression was very complicated. He didn't know what on earth Wang Ling had done to Old Man Sunday. It was actually able to make the usually calm old man's fan filter thicken to this extent. When Wang Ling had gone to the aquarium previously, Zhang Xiaoche had been secretly plotting to trip him up, but he hadn't been able to find a good opportunity. But now, Zhang Xiaoche felt that he couldn't take it anymore. He had to expose Wang Ling's true nature. He had to let Old Man Sun see sooner who was the most suitable person for Lotus Sun. The entire plan was divided into 2 parts. Jiang Xiaoche would start with Wang Ling and Lotus Sunday. He would expose Wang Ling's true nature and increase Lotus Sun's favorable impression of him. Huaguo Water Curtain Group's back-end AI system Wukong had created a very good condition for Jiang Xiaoche to carry out his plan. This AI system was originally used to calculate big data for customers. It was similar to the Guess What You Like function that some shopping platforms developed by getting a customer's focus on browsing products. The Wukong system could automatically push out all kinds of elixirs produced by Huaguo Water Curtain Group to potential customers based on their browsing needs. But now, Jiang Xiaoche planned to use the Wukong system for something else. Dead fish eyes, indifferent, oil bottle, iron fool, likes to steal other people's women. Jiang Xiaoche typed everything he could think of about Wang Ling into the Wukong system. Very quickly, the system's electronic voice sounded. Dear Mr. Jiang, Wukong has recommended you a local girl from Songhai City. Please check her out. According to the system's speculations, this girl was 87% compatible with Wang Ling, and was the type that Wang Ling might like. Success! Jiang Xiaoche was secretly delighted. He clicked open the girl's profile. The girl in the photo had a head of fresh short hair, skin as white as jade, and was very cute and moving. She looked very young, but in fact, she was a senior professional escort expert. They specialize in serving drinks to the bosses of the shopping malls in the hotel. Interesting. I didn't expect classmate Wang Ling to like this kind of flirtatious type. Jiang Xiaoche nodded in satisfaction. Then, he quickly followed the information provided by the system. He made a call to the girl. Jiang Xiaoche, hello, is this Miss Suyu? I would like to ask you for a favor. It's nothing serious, I just want you to help me flirt with a boy. What? Sell your skills and not your body? No. I don't need you to sell your body. Do you understand the boyfriend loyalty test? Yes. It's just a test. The pay is very high. I hope you'll consider it. That night, Wang Ling suddenly received a very strange friend request. It was a girl whom he didn't know at all. The description of the friend request read, Classmate Wang Ling. I'm in trouble, please add me, I have something urgent to tell you. Wang Ling stared blankly at the girl's profile picture for a few seconds. He searched his memories and confirmed that there was no such person in number 60 high or among the people he had come into contact with. But the other party had actually called him classmate Wang Ling. Could she be from another school? No. Maybe it was a leak. Jiang Xiaoche had calculated very well, but he hadn't taken into account that Wang Ling actually didn't have the habit of adding strangers. He didn't even bother to add this girl to ask what on earth was going on. Then, he blacklisted this strange girl. If you're in trouble, go look for the police uncle. Why did he and delay his online lessons? Chapter 1375. Suyu hadn't expected to be blacklisted just like that. This classmate Wang was indeed a cautious person, and more difficult to deal with than Suyu had imagined. Sister? Are you unhappy about something? Su Xiao, who was taking online classes at the dining table, couldn't help asking when he saw his sister's sad face. Go back to your class. Suyu scolded him softly. Wang Ling. Suyu was actually no stranger to this name. She had even met Wang Ling before, although he himself might not have known it. After the Ishuego sect incident at number 60 high school, the school had required parents to pick up their children in person, and Suyu had met Wang Ling when she had picked up Su Xiao. Her younger brother had said that although classmate Wang Ling looked cold, he was actually a very good person. He was also the mascot of their class, and had represented the school several times to win glory for number 60 high school. Jiang Xiaoche had asked her to test a boy, whom he had described as heinous. Suyu hadn't even known who the boy was before receiving the information. In the end, who knew that this was actually her younger brother Su Zhao's classmate, Wang Ling? At this thought, Suyu felt her head hurt a little. Suyu had never thought of flirting with her younger brother's classmate. She didn't mean to make things difficult for Wang Ling. It was just that Jiang Xiaoche was paying her very well. If she could complete this task, Suyu could stay in the house for the next few years and work as an escort, which she hated. Everything she did was for the sake of a living. for the sake of a better life for herself and her younger brother. On Jiang Xiaoche's end, he received a reply from Suyu about an hour later. I used 36 numbers to add them, but they were all blacklisted. I don't have any more numbers now. Jiang Xiaoche was shocked. He stared at Suyu's message with an incredulous look on his face. Not a single one? Is he that upright? Why don't I believe it? After all, Wang Ling was only 16. Jiang Xiaoche was also an experienced person, and it was common for teenagers at this age to be hot-blooded. It was also the age when it was easiest for them to face all kinds of temptations. I have screenshots here. I've used both the soft and hard ways to ask for a friend. Now I really don't have a choice, Suyu typed. Jiang Xiaoche said, Don't worry, I'll pay you. That's good. Suyu nodded. She did not know who the mysterious boss was. They had actually paid such a high price to give Wang Ling this so-called test. However, Suyu had an intuition that this person might have something to do with Lotus Sunday. Maybe he was also Lotus Sun's pursuer? Or thinking of this, Suyu couldn't help but ask, Excuse me, are you Miss Lotus Sun? Jiang Xiaoche said, I'm not. Staring at the phone, Suyu chuckled. Generally speaking, people who were eager to deny it were most likely to be true. She had long heard about the campus rumors between Lotus Sun and Wang Ling. It was just that he hadn't expected Lotus Sun to care so much about Wang Ling. He had even specially used a voice changer to disguise himself as a boy. She had no idea how he had found her and asked her to test Wang Ling's work. Suyu felt that she must have guessed right. Her burning desire for gossip forced her to type out her true thoughts. Don't be shy, Lotus Sun. Jiang Xiaoche, Suyu said, I actually understand the test of character. Given your family's circumstances, you should be a little cautious. In my experience, student Wang is a very pragmatic, honest, and single-minded person. He's not the type who will be easily tempted. Don't worry and marry him. Pah! Hearing this, Jiang Xiaoche was so angry that he smashed his phone. Sending Suyu to test Wang Ling had failed, but Jiang Xiaoche still hadn't given up. He felt that something must have gone wrong. After paying Suyu as agreed, Jiang Xiaoche still intended to continue with Wang Ling. In fact, he had gotten some inspiration from Suyu. The Wukong system's artificial intelligence matching function had combined the information he had entered about Wang Ling to find the most suitable person. But as for the labels he had previously entered, dead fish eyes, indifferent, oily bottle, iron fool, likes to steal other people's women. Some of them were Jiang Xiaoche's own stereotype of Wang Ling, while others were random labels he had added out of jealousy. In fact, they hadn't been objective and fair. In a situation where it was unfair, the girl he had been matched with would naturally be inaccurate. AI, Jiang Xiaoche sighed. He had discovered his mistake. Fortunately, this discovery had been timely. He then began to constantly warn himself in his mind. Put aside your prejudices, be objective and fair, and write down Wang Ling's shining points in the labels. Only in this way could he be matched with a more accurate girl through the large database. Bracing himself, he deleted the labels he had randomly added, and then began to enter some new labels from the perspective of the old man and Suyu's analysis. Dead fish eyes, cold on the outside but warm on the inside, sultry on the inside, pragmatic, honest, steadfast, single-minded, good handwriting, fair skin, also handsome. As he typed in the labels, Jiang Xiaoche held back a mouthful of blood in his heart. He felt like he was going to inject internal injuries. In order to trip up his rival in love, he actually had to praise his rival in love first. Jiang Xiaoche would never have imagined that such a miraculous operation would happen to him. A few minutes later, in front of the computer, Jiang Xiaoche wiped his sweat. This time, the labels he had entered were sufficiently objective and fair. There shouldn't be any more problems with the Wukong system. Very quickly, the system's electronic voice sounded again. Dear Mr. Jiang, Xiaokong has recommended you a local girl from Songhai City. Please check her out. This time, the system was a 96% match. Opening the girl's profile, Jiang Xiaoche couldn't help rubbing his eyes. He was sure he hadn't seen wrong. Because the girl in the photo actually bore some resemblance to Lotus Sun. But Jiang Xiaoche was very sure that this definitely wasn't Lotus Sunday. So there's actually such a similar person in this world? Jiang Xiaoche's eyes lit up. He didn't know what it felt like to fall in love at first sight. But now, he was sure that he had already fallen in love with this girl. Jiang Yingying. What a good name. Jiang Xiaoche recited the girl's profile. Then, he quickly sent a friend request to this girl called Jiang Yingying. Big sister, wanna go out? 3 seconds later, Jiang Xiaoche was directly blacklisted. Wang Ling couldn't help but sigh when he saw this scene on the screen. In the middle of the night, he had inexplicably received more than 30 explicit friend requests. Wang Ling knew that someone was definitely up to no good. Then, he immediately deduced that it was Jiang Xiaoche, and knew that Jiang Xiaoche was fishing. Unfortunately, some people ended up getting themselves caught in the act of fishing. Chapter 1376. Today, Jiang Xiaoche smashed 2 phones. The first time he smashed it was because Su Yu's words provoked him. The second time was because he was rejected by Jiang Yingying. This incident tells us a truth. When life is not going your way, you can have nothing, but you must have a lot of cell phones. Mainly for the convenience of smashing. Nokia is no longer useful in the cultivation world. Unless it had been blessed by Wang Ling otherwise, as long as a cultivator with a certain level of cultivation smashed it, it would shatter. Looking at the 2 shattered phones on the ground, Jiang Xiaoche took a deep breath. He felt that he had completely calmed down. He also knew how to deal with his relationship with Jiang Yingying, as well as with Lotus Sunday. Only children make choices. He wanted them all. With that in mind, Jiang Xiaoche took out a 3rd phone from his pocket and began the next step of his plan. As for Jiang Yingying, he still had to make an appointment with her. This was the first time he had seen a girl who looked so similar to Lotus Sunday. It would be a pity to let her go so easily. On Wang Ling's side, with the failure of Su Yu's plan, Jiang Xiaoche knew that he might not be able to move this blockhead with a simple seduction skill. He began to think of a good play. Suppose he and Lotus Sun were put together in the same place, and put them both in danger at the same time. If he were to lend a hand at that time, wouldn't he be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone? It's just 2 foundation establishment cultivators. Creating a fake crisis wasn't a difficult task for Jiang Xiaoche. The hero saving the damsel in distress was a cliché. But as the saying goes, only tricks can win people's hearts. Jiang Xiaoche had even thought of the time to make his move. On the way out of number 60 high school on the first day of school next Monday. Wang Ling, if you have the guts, don't leave school. After returning from the demon world with Lotus Sun and Loopy Toad, the monk received news from Battle Sect that grenade-throwing senior immortal wanted to discuss collecting the materials to make the new Rubik's Cube. As the most experienced person, Monk Golden Lamp naturally became a ready-made consultant. With the brand new mysterious sea, Lotus Sun had already witnessed the power of the alluring sword. Lotus Sun simply couldn't imagine that such tremendous power could come from her thin and weak body. When he used the city-toppling sword, she thought of Wang Ling. The power contained in classmate Wang Ling's body was probably beyond anyone's imagination or comparison. Lotus Sun was well aware of this. Compared with Wang Ling, the power he currently possessed was probably just a drop in the ocean. However, without the monk's help, she would never be able to reach this level of combat strength in her entire life. After witnessing the power of the alluring sword, the girl felt a sense of duty and responsibility. Furthermore, she began to understand Wang Ling's troubles a little. Thinking of this, she frowned and couldn't help but sigh in front of the monk. Lotus Sun, it's really a very vexing thing to be unable to control one's power when it's too great. I hope classmate Wang Ling can find a way to precisely control his strength as soon as possible. The Golden Lamp monk smiled. We'll definitely find it. Thank you so much, senior. Lotus Sun held Mysterious Sea as she expressed her thanks again. Miss Sun is too polite. However, this poor monk still has a word of advice. Miss Sun, please listen carefully. Tyrant smiled. Mysterious Sea might be powerful, but it can be controlled. Usually, Miss Sun could suppress most of her enemies with just her sword energy. Miss Sun's city-toppling sword was her greatest killing move at the current stage. You mustn't use it lightly unless you have no other choice. Lotus Sun. I understand, senior. I will definitely use this power carefully. A woman doesn't lose to a man. With Miss Sun's words, this poor monk can rest assured. The monk nodded. Everything that needed to be said had been said. His face-shaping competition promise could also be considered to have officially come to an end. City-toppling sword was Lotus Sun's current killing move. In fact, if Mysterious Sea had multiple core worlds in its body, this killing move could be upgraded to another level. But to build multiple core worlds into the spirit sword space, one would need to fuse multiple Rubik's Cubes. It wasn't easy to obtain a Heavenly Tao Rubik's Cube to fuse with Mysterious Sea. The monk didn't even dare think about a multi-core spirit sword. If Mysterious Sea had 2 cores, it would be able to unleash the power of City-toppling sword. With 3 cores, it would be able to unleash City-toppling sword. But now, even if Mysterious Sea was a single core, Lotus Sun would already be able to enjoy it. It had really risen to the level of 3 cores. The monk thought that the spirit of the earth might go crazy. Nowadays, a foundation establishment cultivator could use City-toppling sword to blow it up. Just the thought of it was enough to make one collapse. Then, Miss Sun, Benefactor Toad and I will take our leave now. We still have to go to Battle Sect later. All right, please go ahead, Senior. Holding Mysterious Sea, Lotus Sun bowed to the monk, then turned her gaze to Loopy Toad and rubbed its head. Loopy Toad, when you go back, thank classmate Wang Ling for me. Loopy Toad replied. Croak. I got it. You should also send a message. It's no big deal. Lotus Sun's face turned red again. I haven't thought about how to say it to classmate Wang Ling yet. She felt that it might be very hard for Loopy Toad to understand this kind of feeling. She couldn't say exactly what she was feeling. It was just that every time she sent a message, she would frenetically struggle with her wording, for fear that she would say something embarrassing about Wang Ling. In the end, after several hours, she had revised this very simple sentence hundreds of times, but in the end, she still hadn't sent it. It was all stored in the draft box. Can you let me see your phone? Loopy Toad asked at that moment. It knew that this was actually a very rude question. What do you want to do? Lotus Sun asked. I just want to see what you've written, so that I can better convey your meaning. Loopy Toad smiled kindly. All right, but don't flip through it. Lotus Sun carefully handed the phone over. Staring at the phone, Loopy Toad was startled by the number on the draft box. You actually sent 218 messages? I really just didn't know how to say it. Lotus Sun was also very helpless. She was about to take the phone back when she suddenly saw Loopy Toad actually press its paw on it. Loopy Toad, what are you doing? Lotus Sun hurriedly snatched the phone back. Croak. It's nothing. I just wanted to help you. At that moment, Loopy Toad had a crafty expression on its face. Lotus Sun was anxious and her face was red. Loopy Toad. You. Why did you send them all? You don't have the courage to send them, so I'll help you. Send them all, it's no big deal. After saying that, Loopy Toad flicked its tail lightly. Monk, let's go. Very well, Benefactor Toad. The monk nodded. He stifled his laughter and looked like he was watching a good show. A few seconds later, Wang Ling's phone inbox directly exploded. Lotus Sun's messages came in one after another. Wang Ling this time. I really have to thank you. Classmate Wang Ling, I think I understand you a little. It must be very painful for you to have such enormous power, right? Classmate Wang Ling. Thank you for the Heavenly Tao Magic Cube. Mysterious Sea leveled up. It's very useful. Wang Ling I. Chapter 1377. More than 200 messages flooded his inbox, and Wang Ling almost thought that his phone was a ghost. These were all messages from Lotus Sunday. Thank you. Because the messages were jumping up and down so frequently, Wang Ling caught a few keywords. He guessed that Lotus Sun was probably thanking him for giving her the Heavenly Tao Magic Cube. But in Wang Ling's opinion, there really wasn't any need to thank this little thing. For him, the Heavenly Tao Magic Cube was like an eraser that his desk mate next to him took out during an exam. It wasn't anything valuable to begin with. So should he reply? Wang Ling wanted to reply with 2 words. It's fine. She had already sent more than 200 messages. It would be a little impolite to pretend that he hadn't seen them. But when he put his finger on it, Wang Ling hesitated again. After revising it a few times, Wang Ling stared at the ellipsis in the reply box and fell into deep thought. You've had your day? Wang Ying laughed. Then he directly reached out and helped Wang Ling press the send button. Wang Ling stared at Wang Ying. He didn't know if he couldn't lift his saber or if Wang Ying was floating. But since the message had already been sent, he might as well take it as it came. In any case, it was just a string of ellipses. Ling Ling, come here for a moment. At that moment, Wang Ling heard Father Wang's call from the study. Without thinking too much about it, he casually put his phone down on the table and hurried over. Because of Loopy Toad, the more than 200 messages in the manuscript storage box had all been sent out. The girl was both embarrassed and annoyed. Even after Loopy Toad and the monk had left, her body temperature still didn't drop. Hugging a pillow, she lay on the bed and buried her face deep in it. That was more than 200 messages. There were a lot of things she wanted to say but didn't have the courage to say them. But now they had all been sent out. Classmate Wang Ling hadn't seen them all, had he? She was extremely nervous. Still no reply. After a long while, she moved half her face out of the pillow and stared at Sun Yinger on the side. No. Sun Yinger gripped her phone and stared at the mailbox like a searchlight. She sighed. AI, you two are so troublesome. If you want to see them, go ahead, don't make me keep an eye on them for you. But what if? So Rong Rong is afraid of rejection. But I don't think there's any ifs. Ling Zhenren had always been a block of wood, so he didn't think much of it even if he saw it. Rong Rong's confession through text messages was too weak. You should just hug him and gnaw on him. Sun Yinger chuckled. What are you talking about? Lotus Sun buried her face again. A few more seconds passed. Lotus Sun's cell phone made 2 ding-dong sounds. A reply, Rong Rong. Sun Yinger said excitedly. There are actually 2 replies. 2. Lotus Sun was astonished. Classmate Wang Ling. When did he become so talkative? Sun Yinger said, the first one is an ellipsis. Lotus Sun asked. And the second one? Sun Yinger, the second one. He said he likes you too. Lotus Sun should have been happy to hear this. Unfortunately, it didn't take a brain to know that this wasn't classmate Wang Ling's writing, given the strong contrast in his style of text messages. Lotus Sun was looking forward to a reply, but she was still a rational person. She was worried that Wang Ling would be angry. But the facts proved that this worry was completely unnecessary. An ellipsis, as expected of classmate Wang Ling, Lotus Sun couldn't help laughing in her heart. Rong Rong, what's wrong? Ling Zhenren replied that he likes you too. Sun Yinger found it strange that Lotus Sun didn't seem as happy as she looked. The first one was indeed from classmate Wang Ling. The second one definitely wasn't from him, the girl said calmly. It wasn't from Ling Zhenren? Sun Yinger suddenly thought of something. Could it be? Sun Yinger could only think of one person who could appear at Wang Ling's side at any time and who had a motive. It was President Ying, Lotus Sun said. She was sure of this conjecture. This guy is a pervert. He actually used someone else's phone to send text messages. And he even took liberties with you, Rong Rong. Sun Yinger couldn't take it anymore. For some reason, whenever Wang Ying was brought up, she became very excited and wanted to rebel. Ying, don't be impulsive. Lotus Sun found it a little funny when she saw Sun Yinger's angry look. It's fine. He's already punished for what he deserves. Let's see what other excuses he can find. Humph. Sun Yinger wasn't willing to show weakness. Lotus Sun. After that, Sun Yinger also started to use Lotus Sun's phone. Just like that, the 2 shadows used their master's phones to carry out the following conversation. Ah, classmate Wang Ling. I'm so happy. Can you really date me? That's great, Lotus Sunday. It seems that we really like each other. How about I come to your house now? Come to my house. That's not very good, right? I'll go to classmate Wang Ling's house. I've admired classmate Wang Ling's biceps for a long time. Really? Then come, you can even touch them. Can I really? Classmate Wang Ling. Sure. You can also touch my pecs and abs. You don't have to be shy, Miss Lotus Sunday. How about this? I'm a boy, so I've decided to take the initiative. I'll come over now and let you touch them. You're coming over now? Sun Yinger was so shocked that she almost dropped her phone. Then we can go somewhere else. Somewhere else. For example, the moon you're familiar with. Wang Ying sneered and replied. Realizing that her identity had been exposed, Sun Yinger decided not to pretend anymore. She was going to lay her cards on the table. Blarg. Wang Ying, you're so perverted. You're playing with Ling Zhenren's phone like this. Does Ling Zhenren know how to do it? Sun Yinger typed quickly with her slender fingers to express her protest against Wang Ying. Heh, woman. Aren't you still playing with Miss Lotus Sun's phone? Wang Ying laughed. I got Rong's permission. Sun Yinger said boldly. Then did Miss Sun teach you to type these words? HM? Wang Ying typed. I just wanted to test how perverted you are. You actually took the initiative to go to a girl's house and let her touch you. I never thought you'd actually have this kind of personality. Sun Yinger couldn't take it anymore and laughed loudly with the phone in her hands. She didn't know what on earth Sun Yinger was laughing about. Sitting on the edge of the bed, she watched Sun Yinger throw her head back on the sofa with her phone in her hands and laugh hysterically. However, this laughter didn't last long. Because in the next moment, Sun Yinger was gone. She was directly swept away by a black shadow. It happened in the blink of an eye. By the time she reacted, there was only one phone left on the sofa. Sun Yinger had died very peacefully. Chapter 1378. Father Wang called Wang Ling into the study. Even without the mind-reading ability, Wang Ling knew that Father Wang was definitely looking for him about the composition. Sure enough, Wang Ling saw that Father Wang's computer interface in the study was frozen at the back end of the composition review. This woof. You wrote it? Father Wang stared at Wang Ling with an amused expression on his face. There was no way he wouldn't recognize his own son. It was Father Wang who had taught Wang Ling's handwriting since he was a child. After all, Wang Ling had been able to hold a pen as soon as he was born. Father Wang had always felt that beautiful handwriting could affect a person's life. Furthermore, this was actually a way to exercise strength control. At the very least, Wang Ling was now confident in his strength when it came to pinching the pen. The process of teaching him to write hadn't been easy, and Father Wang still felt very bitter when he thought back to it. Even at 1 yuan each, the pens that Wang Ling had broken in his hand were worth several years' worth of royalties. Little Lei texted me earlier to ask me to take care of this composition. Actually, I saw it long ago. Father Wang laughed. He lit a cigarette and took a deep drag, the smell of nicotine turning into a dragon of smoke as Father Wang exhaled it through his nose and mouth. Then, Wang Ling inhaled the smoke into his lungs and filtered it into fresh oxygen, which flowed back into the study. Although Father Wang was smoking, there wasn't the slightest smell in the study. The Wang family's small villa didn't need to worry about PM2.5, so there was no need to buy an air purifier. Wang Ling had one readily available. This was the benefit of raising a son. Don't be nervous. Now that we've discussed it, we've decided to send this composition into the creativity database. I voted against it. You should know the reason better than I do. After all, I'm still your father, and I have to avoid arousing suspicion. Wang Ling nodded. I haven't finished. Father Wang said, although I voted against it, it's useless. Based on the principle of the minority obeying the majority, your composition will eventually be sent in. Wang Ling. This is the final result of your composition. But I didn't come to talk to you just about the composition today. Father Wang thought for a bit, then raised his eyebrows. He looked at Wang Ling with a profound look in his eyes. How's the matter with Miss Sun? Hearing this, Wang Ling was already sweating. You've even seen a huge scene like a planet exploding, yet you're still nervous about something like this. As expected of you. Father Wang was amused. He pressed the cigarette butt into the ashtray and twisted it a few times. His eyes flickered slightly, and his tone was rather carefree. The boys of our old Wang family never lack peach blossoms in their lives. However, you've always been the more active one. There are all kinds of active skills in love, but you haven't inherited any of them. You've put all your skill points into passive points. Your temperament is a bit like your mother's. When your mother and I met, she was also the passive party. But it's not as serious as yours. At least I wrote a song and a few poems that moved her in the end. Father Wang sighed and said, "One-sided love is always the most tiring. I can see that Miss Sun is deeply in love with you, and it really isn't easy." Speaking up to this point, Father Wang paused as he observed Wang Ling's expression. When he saw that Wang Ling's face was still devoid of emotion, he continued, "Actually, I understand you. At this stage, you still don't have good control over your strength. If you date Miss Sun, you might hurt her. In that case, it wouldn't be realistic to create a human being." Hearing this, the corners of Wang Ling's eyes finally couldn't help twitching. He felt that Father Wang was becoming more and more outrageous. "I'm joking." Father Wang laughed and patted Wang Ling on the shoulder. "Thank you, son." Wang Ling. In my next plot, I'm going to add a wooden male supporting character who's like an emotional idiot. You've provided me with very good material. I've been observing your reaction just now. Not bad, not bad. I've got the material. Father Wang exclaimed sincerely. It's still good to have a son. He can be an air purifier but also a tool man. Wang Ling. Listen. What kind of human speech was that? December 5th, Saturday. Last night, Wang Ying had tormented Sun Yinger all night, and she felt like her waist was about to collapse. It wasn't until 6 o'clock in the morning that Wang Ying mercifully let her go. Rong rong. When Sun Yinger got home, she threw herself into Lotus Sun's soft arms. "Wang Ying, he bullied me." She was choked with sobs, as if she had been greatly wronged, but there were no tears on her face. On the contrary, Lotus Sun thought that maybe Ying was actually pretty happy. Then, should I send a message to classmate Wang Ling? Lotus Sun asked tentatively. No. How can we trouble Ling Zhenren to deal with our trivial matters? Let's forget about it. Sun Yinger immediately raised her head. Why do I feel like you're pretty happy? Lotus Sun couldn't help laughing. Who's happy? Are you willing to let someone grab your hand and forcibly touch your abs? That's too much. Wang Ying, he is a pure and natural super big. Why do I feel like you didn't finish your sentence? Rong, did you hear a beep just now? It's Wang Ying. He set up a keyword blocking spell on me. As long as I say he is, it will become. I understand. Lotus Sun nodded and couldn't help laughing. I think CEO Ying really knows how to play around. Sun Yinger wanted to cry but had no tears. He said that this spell will count automatically. He also set up a new rule. In the future, punishment will be based on the count. Every time you're blocked, you have to be hit 50 times. Wang Ying. Only he can think of such a method. Stop it, you've already said it 7 times, it seems. Isn't that 350 times? Sun Yinger gave up on resisting. I'll chop off my waist and give it to him. Lotus Sun. Actually, there's a reason why I'm so uncomfortable. At this moment, Sun Yinger sighed. It's fine if Wang Ying is impudent towards me. Anyway, no one else saw me in such a sorry state. But last night, the scene of me being hit by him was seen by someone. And it was a girl. I also want my face. Girl? Which girl? It's Miss Awan. The one who used a phone screen to block my big move. It's her. Lotus Sun also remembered. But isn't the place where CEO Ying took you to the ball deep west of the Milky Way? Why would Miss Awan be there? I don't know. Sun Yinger shook her head, then said seriously, I suspect that she's jealous of me and wants to touch Wang Ying. Hearing this, Lotus Sun let out a slow question mark. Had her shadow finally been destroyed? Chapter 1379. Lotus Sun felt that even Sun Yinger herself probably didn't realize that she actually had feelings for Wang Ying. She even felt that it wasn't just Sun Yinger who felt for Wang Ying. Wang Ying felt the same way about Sun Yinger. What Wang Ying was doing to Sun Yinger now was like a boy who couldn't figure out his feelings for a girl sitting in front of him at school. Boys were used to playing pranks to attract girls' attention. So in a sense, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Wang Ying was 3 years old when it came to expressing his feelings. Although he was very proactive, it was clear that he didn't understand Sun Yinger's true position in his heart. Of course, this was just Lotus Sun's own understanding. Lotus Sun had never seen what was going on between the two shadows with her own eyes, and had mostly heard about it from Sun Yinger. But in the depths of her heart, she was still a little envious. Although Wang Ying's way of expressing his feelings was a little childish, it couldn't stop him from falling for it. Having something to express was always better than not having anything at all. Wang Ling, how much longer can I wait for you? Lotus Sun smiled bitterly in her heart. As she thought about this, Sun Yinger's chatter was automatically cut off. When she came back to her senses, she heard Sun Yinger say after a powerful analysis, "So Rongrong, I think my analysis is correct. Miss Awan definitely has a crush on Wang Ying." Lotus Sun couldn't help laughing. These words sounded quite angry, but why did she smell a strong scent of vinegar? Miss Awan is a good girl, she wouldn't have such thoughts. You're thinking too much. She must have something else, said Lotus Sunday Rongrong. Why are you siding with an outsider? Sun Yinger wasn't happy. You can't be partial to Miss Awan just because she's a staunch Lingrong fan. What Lingrong fan? Lotus Sun blushed again. Damn. Anyone with a discerning eye knows that almost everyone in Battle Sect is Lingrong's fan now. The whole world is helping, and Miss Awan is no exception. Hee. There was a cunning look in Sun Yinger's eyes. Lotus Sun was incoherent at her own shadow's words, and after a long while she finally scolded shyly. Mind your Wang Ying. While the two were discussing, Lotus Sun suddenly noticed that her nails suddenly vibrated. She thought that she had delayed her lessons for too long and the teacher had come to urge her to do her homework. In the end, she found that she had been pulled into the Battle Sect Core member working group. The person who had pulled him back was none other than Audiobook. Audiobook. Welcome junior sister Lotus Sun. In the future, everyone would be a family. Hug. Grenade throwing senior immortal. Welcome Miss Lotus Sun. Rose Fengxing. Welcome. Crispy Noodles Dao Monarch. Grinning. I also wanted to invite Miss Sun before, but because I'm busy with work, I always forget. Director Zhua is really considerate. Lotus Sun. Thank you everyone. But if I join in like this, is it appropriate? Jean Deng said, this poor monk has long predicted that Miss Sun would join the group. Little Silver. Where is Master? Why don't you come out and say something? Grenade throwing senior immortal. Brother Ling is most likely spying on us. Of course, there's also a very small chance that he's embarrassed after seeing Miss Sunday, Loopy Toad. Come on. Is the Lord still shy? He's like a block of wood. Can you imagine him hugging a pillow on the bed, as shy as a maggot, twisting and turning? When the people chatting in front of the screen saw this, they couldn't help letting out a hiss. The scene was too beautiful for them to imagine. In the next moment, a system prompt appeared. Member, Loopy Toad, has been muted by Administrator, Ling Zhenren, for 6 hours. Everyone laughed bitterly in their hearts. Sure enough, Ling Zhenren was spying on them. Although Loopy Toad had been brutally punished, what he had said just now was indeed a little excessive. As a pet, how could it openly discuss its owner in the group? Sure enough, after successfully advancing to a divine beast, it had become a little arrogant. Grenade throwing senior immortal. I chose to hold this meeting in the group this time to discuss the collection of materials for the new Heavenly Dao Magic Cube, as well as the possible revenge mechanism for the old Heavenly Dao Magic Cube. I've already discussed the collection of materials with Senior Jean Deng in private. I'll have to trouble Senior Jean Deng to pay more attention to this matter. Jean Deng nodded and typed, this is a matter concerning all living beings in the world. This poor monk is duty-bound. Grenade throwing senior immortal. Then, I'm going to initiate a one-button call to connect with Miss Awan for an impromptu call with the members of our group. Miss Awan, say hello to everyone. Na. Can you hear me? The familiar sound of the old Swona rang out, and everyone couldn't help but feel a sense of familiarity. She hadn't explored the depths of the Milky Way last night for Wang Ying, but had indeed had an urgent matter to deal with. If she hadn't been helpless, Awan would never have chosen to ask Battle Sect for help at this time. The Realm King of the Divine World also wanted face. Although the Divine World and its subordinate Divine Dao Star were currently in a cooperative relationship with Battle Sect, Miss Awan wouldn't ask anyone else for help unless it was absolutely necessary. So what on earth happened? Asked Grenade throwing senior immortal. It happened quite suddenly. Simply put, Divine Dao Star is currently a little out of control, said Miss Awan. This was a huge headache for her, mainly because until now, she, the realm king of the divine world, still hadn't figured out what on earth had gone wrong to cause Divine Dao Star to go out of control. Grenade-throwing senior immortal. What are the specific signs of it going out of control? In order to expand Divine Dao Star's territory, Star-Lord of Divine Dao Star once absorbed other planets and forcibly merged them together. Miss Awan said, "It's like a big fish eating a small fish." After absorbing other planets, Divine Dao Star grew bigger and bigger, fusing with thousands of different universe creatures, and was ruled by the Divine Dragon Clan. Everyone knows what happened afterwards. We were punished by Ling Zhenren. Grenade-throwing senior immortal nodded. Everyone remembers this. But Miss Awan is now the realm king of the divine world, and she is indeed fulfilling her duty very well by leading Divine Dao Star to develop and turn over a new leaf. She has begun to take responsibility for maintaining peace. This is also a kind of atonement. It was for this reason that I was elected. Miss Awan sighed. Divine Dao Star used to swallow other planets at our behest, that's right. But now, without any instructions at all, Divine Dao Star has started to swallow other planets again. Furthermore, it's swallowing them much faster than before. When did it start to go out of control? Yesterday. Grenade-throwing senior immortal sank into deep thought at these words. Because Mysterious Sea's upgrade had just happened to be completed yesterday. If his guess was right, the phenomenon of Divine Dao Star going out of control was probably closely related to the revenge of the Rubik's Cube. But now, here was the problem. If there was a connection between the two, Divine Dao Star's existence was actually very mysterious. This was clearly a subsidiary planet of the divine world, but it actually had a connection to the heavenly Dao. Divine Dao Star wasn't created by God, was it? At that moment, Grenade-throwing senior immortal raised his head and asked boldly, "Miss Awan, please tell me the truth." Miss Awan was clearly silent. Then she replied, "Divine Dao Star was actually given to old God by Dao ancestor Wang back then as a token of love." Chapter 1380. Hearing this, everyone could not help but exclaim in their hearts. She actually gave him a planet as a token of love. Such a way of doing things was indeed in line with Dao ancestor Wang's style. Old God, are you referring to the previous world king of the God world? Grenade-throwing senior immortal asked at that moment. Yes. Miss Awan nodded. She recalled many things over and over again. But the old God has already immortalized. After immortalizing, the God realm has been without a master for a long time. It was only recently that the will of the old God chose me. After that, I became the new God world king. So that's how it is. Everyone in Battle Sect nodded. Then wouldn't it also be a power transition mechanism? Sun Yinger interrupted. Sun Yinger couldn't be more familiar with this method, because it was the same in the Void. The old Void Master could pass on his power to the next generation. This method of inheritance was also known as the power transition mechanism. The advantage was that 100% of the power of the previous generation could be passed on to the next generation. However, there was also an obvious flaw, which was that the inheritance time was too long. Therefore, during this period of time, he had to lay low. If he died during the inheritance process, then the previous generation would have to find a new successor, and the power that had passed away would be wasted, unable to return to the original body. That's right. That's why my power is still slowly being inherited. The more power you inherit, the more wings you'll have on your back, Miss Awan said. This was the main reason why she had tried so hard to please Wang Ling before. Before inheriting 100% of the old god's power, if Awan could cling to Ling Zhenren's thigh, he would be able to smoothly complete the inheritance ceremony. Although I've become the new realm king of the god realm, I still don't know why the old god chose me. At this moment, Awan sighed and said, "I'm still too young. Now that Divine Dao Star is out of control, there's nothing I can do." Grenade-throwing senior immortal basically understood the situation. It clearly wasn't Miss Awan's fault that Divine Dao Star was out of control. After all, no one would have thought that after the unspeakable land was destroyed, the heavenly Dao magic cube would cause an imbalance in the power of chaos in the universe. Now that Divine Dao Star had begun to devour other planets uncontrollably, it was very likely that this was also the magic cube's revenge. Wang Ling quietly listened to the messages in the group. He already knew why Divine Dao Star had gone out of control. Since Divine Tao Star was connected to Tao Ancestor Wang, and Tao Ancestor Wang had gifted this planet to the old god of the divine world as a token of love, then it was very likely that there was a heavenly Tao magic cube hidden on Divine Tao Star. Wang Ling quickly sent this speculation to Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal in private. The two of them had the same thought. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, Brother Ling gave me his opinion in a private message just now. He thinks that there might be a heavenly Tao magic cube hidden on Divine Tao Star. Miss Awan was startled. Ah yeah? Really? To prevent Divine Tao Star from going out of control, we have to find this heavenly Tao magic cube first and suppress its rampage. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said, but Brother Ling also said that it's very easy to take out the magic cube. But it's more troublesome to do it without destroying Divine Tao Star. The best way was to send people deep into Divine Tao Star to search. However, this matter has a certain degree of danger. At that moment, Audiobook asked, then what does Shifu think? Crispy Noodles Tao Monarch replied, Lord Ling Zhu's plan is for Loopy Toad to go. It has already become a divine beast, so it'll be a good training experience. Little Silver. But I want to go too. Crispy Noodles Tao Monarch smiled. Loopy Toad still has half of the divine beast soul that it hasn't absorbed. Lord Ling Zhu wants you to go back to the land of origin during this period and absorb the remaining soul. That way, you'll also be able to enter the divine beast list. At that moment, Monk Jin Deng asked, since it's risky, why not let this poor monk go with you? Senior has the task of collecting the materials for the new magic cube, so you don't have to trouble yourself to look for it. But Brother Ling does want to find someone to team up with Brother Dog, so that they can look out for each other. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal asked, then, is there anyone who would like to volunteer? I'm willing. At that moment, a voice that had been silent for a long time sounded. It was Lotus Sun in a voice as sweet as the echo of a clear spring. Miss Lotus Sun wants to go? Awan was surprised. When Miss Awan saved me before, she risked her life and put in a lot of effort. So, I'm willing to give it a try. Lotus Sun nodded and said, with Loopy Toad, Inger and the upgraded Mysterious Sea, I'm very confident. On one hand, she wanted to repay Miss Awan's favor. On the other hand, this would indeed be a rare training experience. Since Miss Lotus Sun has volunteered, our battle sect will definitely do our best to help. This is indeed a rare opportunity to gain experience. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal said, but there's only one day left until number 60 high school resumes classes. How about this? Miss Sun can go look for it first. The deadline will be the day of resumption. If there's nothing before then, we'll swap someone else. How about that? This will also ensure Miss Sun's safety. I understand. I won't let you down, seniors. Lotus Sun's voice sounded particularly confident in the group call. It was true that she was currently the strongest foundation establishment cultivator on Earth. But she also didn't want to be a foundation establishment cultivator forever. Perhaps she would never catch up to Wang Ling in terms of realm strength. But Lotus Sun was willing to work hard to shorten the gap between them. A healthy relationship would never cause a person to become dispirited or even regress. Working hard to pursue and influence each other so that they could become more mature and better people than before was the right way to start a relationship. Pursuing Wang Ling was bound to be a long process. But she was willing to do it. Junior sister Lotus Sun, your line isn't right. At that moment, Audiobook's voice interrupted the girl's thoughts. Lotus Sun was puzzled. What's wrong? Hee. Normally, shouldn't you confess before you set off? For example. Audiobook smiled. He deliberately imitated a girl's voice and made it sound very soft as he did his best to imitate Lotus Sun's tone. Classmate Wang Ling. When I come back, I'll marry you. Lotus Sun, Senior Zhua. This is a big group. Audiobook completely ignored her, and then imitated Wang Ling's voice again. Classmate Lotus Sun, will you marry me? Right after that, Lotus Sun's voice rang out. I will. What's going on? Everyone in the group was stupefied. Audiobook. This is a recording of Miss Sun agreeing to do the mission. I recorded it. Lotus Sun. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal. Brother Zhua. I'm very curious. Why haven't you been punished by Brother Ling? Audiobook. I know my Xiaofu too well. This is the time he eats crispy noodle snacks, and he doesn't look at the group. He left right after his private chat with Senior Immortal. Everyone exclaimed in amazement. It could only be said that Audiobook was indeed Ling Zhenren's personal disciple. A man who could crazily test the waters on the verge of death and come out unscathed. He knew Wang Ling too well. Audiobook then became even bolder in the group. He continued to use Wang Ling's voice and the recording of Lotus Sun's "I will" to ruthlessly tease his junior sister. Then, classmate Lotus Sun, will you follow me in life, in sickness and in death? I will. Then, classmate Lotus Sun, will you bear my children in the future? I will. Lotus Sun covered her face and directly exited the call. It was too difficult for her. It was early in the morning, and her shadow had been ruined by him. What she had said in the group had actually been recorded, and then Senior Zhua had ruined it. Sure enough, when a newcomer joined the group, there were traps everywhere. It looked like she had to be more careful what she said in the future. It wouldn't be good if she caused trouble for classmate Wang Ling. Chapter 1381. Teasing his junior sister and then observing Lotus Sun's reaction was indeed very interesting to Audiobook. Brother Zhua, I think Brother Ling will most likely punish you. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal smiled helplessly. He could only use one word to describe Audiobook's behavior, and that was that he was mentally deranged. Don't worry, I'm fine. Audiobook smiled like an old man. He estimated that it was about time, so he began to use his admin privileges to clear all the chat records in the group. He hadn't even made a backup copy of the group call, and hadn't left the slightest trace behind. Just then, Wang Ling returned to the group. When he saw that it was empty, it was obvious that the meeting had already ended. Bored to death, he left an ellipsis before slipping away again. Indeed, Audiobook hadn't been punished. He had calculated all the timings accurately. In front of the screen, all the core members of the war sect were dumbfounded. He didn't expect there to be such a thing. Lotus Sun didn't have much time left. Without further ado, she decided to set off with Miss Awan as soon as possible. Before leaving, Lotus Sun wrapped Mysterious Sea's sword chi around her body to prevent any accidents from happening. Her cautious reaction amused Awan. Miss Sun, you don't have to be so nervous. Your body has been blessed by the monk. You won't have any problems even if you walk in space. Awan had already seen how powerful the monk's illumination spell was. Even if it couldn't compare to Wang Ling's enlightening spell, the girl's current physical strength was enough for her to move around in space. Kai-sama doesn't have to call me Miss Sun, just call me Rong Rong like Ing. Alright. That would indeed be too formal. Then you can call me Awan. The two girls looked at each other and smiled. Then, Awan took out a dark blue dama dress. Rong Rong, change into this. It's just a +0 world-defying magic skirt. It's not worth much anyway. Awan said, although your body can withstand the pressure of space, your clothes can't. With this world-defying dress, it will be much more convenient. That's too expensive. Lotus Sun was slightly surprised. She was only at the foundation establishment stage, but she could actually use a world-defying magic artifact. Even his grandfather's ancestral rod didn't reach this standard. Don't worry, you've helped me a lot this time, Wan said. But it's not done yet. Lotus Sun was still a little embarrassed. Take it, there's no need to stand on ceremony with me, Awan said with a smile. In fact, in her opinion, Lotus Sun volunteering to go was already half done. This was someone Ling Zhenren was doing his utmost to protect. If she went, even if something went wrong in the end, could Ling Zhenren just sit there and do nothing? As a young realm king of the immortal realm, Awan could see through all of this. Moreover, she was already a divine world king. She could still afford to take out these things. 4 upper-level cultivators. If a world-defying magic tool was not fused with the power of primal chaos, it would be no different from a toy. A world-defying artifact that had been infused with the power of chaos was the most valuable. As for the +0 that Awan mentioned, it was actually a standard for determining the power of chaos in world-defying artifacts. With 10% as the limit, for every 10% of the power of chaos a world-defying artifact possessed, its level would be +1. The higher the number, the more valuable the world-defying artifact would be. Come, Rong Rong, I'll help you change. Sun Yinger stared at the beautiful blue dress, her eyes sparkling like stars. She didn't need to change, because when Lotus Sun changed her clothes, her own clothes would also change. But this change was limited to the style, and the main color was still black, white, and gray. This was the suffering of being a shadow. The photos taken were like portraits of the deceased. Thus, learning to find joy in hardship was also a necessary lesson for a qualified shadow. This wasn't a long dress, and the hem only reached above her knees. When Lotus Sun changed into the dress, she faced the fixed mirror in front of her, which perfectly displayed her slender white legs. Leg lovers are so lucky! Sun Yinger exclaimed on the side. When she helped Lotus Sun pull up the zipper on the back of the dress, Sun Yinger laughed evilly and sneaked up on Lotus Sun's chest. What are you doing, Rong Rong? Lotus Sun was a little embarrassed from being touched. Not bad, Rong Rong. They don't look big, but they actually feel very good. Sun Yinger still hadn't had enough, and chuckled. I'm helping you get used to it in advance. Get used to what? You're talking nonsense again. Lotus Sun said angrily and bashfully. But very quickly, her emotions gradually calmed down. Although Sun Yinger hadn't been by her side for long, she had already completely understood her lively and mischievous personality. It was a completely different style from hers. She couldn't punish Sun Yinger's behavior, but as her master, she still had ways to deal with her. After changing into the dress, she spun around in front of the mirror and pretended to say carelessly, Can't you be a little more dignified like me? If you're so mischievous, Director Shadow might find someone else. When she said this, Sun Yinger's face didn't show much of a reaction. I'll find whoever I want. I don't care. That was what Sun Yinger said, but in fact, she was panicking inside. She didn't know why she felt so uncomfortable after hearing this, as if there was a mouthful of blood in her chest that she couldn't vent for a while. Sun Yinger felt that she had become a little abnormal. That guy had clearly done so many outrageous things to her. But when she thought about what if that guy really didn't pay attention to her in the future, she actually felt a sense of loss. Then, Sun Yinger shut down at the speed of light. She turned back into a black shadow and curled up into a ball under Lotus Sun's body. Lotus Sun felt that Sun Yinger was really quite interesting. She was actually so easily frightened, which showed that she was still too naive. No wonder Wang Ying liked to bully her so much. Then Awan, let's go. Having made sufficient preparations, Lotus Sun held Mysterious Sea tightly. The Heavenly Dao magic cube had the ability to sense each other, so Lotus Sun didn't think it would be difficult to find the cube. With a Heavenly Dao magic cube fused into Mysterious Sea's body, the sword chi it formed was actually a pure natural radar. Let's go now. Awan nodded. What about Loopy Toad? It told me that Lord Ma will directly teleport it over. We'll meet outside the main city area of the Divine World. After Awan said this, Lotus Sun saw a glowing feather float down from her room. Then, a magic ring of transmission appeared on the carpet in the bedroom. Let's go, Awan said. At that moment, Lotus Sun noticed that Awan's appearance seemed to have changed. Why did you disguise yourself? I'm the World King of the Divine World. Who on Divine Dao Star doesn't know me? Those people have to kowtow 3 times when they see me. If I directly go over as the World King, I won't be able to stand kowtowing all the way. Besides, being too high profile isn't good for the operation. Awan said. Chapter 1382. Because she had to hide her identity as the World King of the Divine World, Awan couldn't directly teleport in. She took Lotus Sun on a road that led to the main city district. This road was very wide, but uneven. There were mountain ranges along the way, and Divine Dao Star's 100-meter-tall ancient tree stood tall, its branches blotting out the sky and the sun, giving it a primordial air. Awan summoned 2 huge rabbits as mounts, and they galloped along the road. The rabbits were extremely fast, but they didn't feel the slightest jolt when they sat on them. These were 2 old mounts which Awan had carefully cultivated. The 2 rabbit ears on top of their heads gently supported their buttocks as they moved, so that there was almost no impact when they landed. That's great. Sun Yinger sighed at that moment. She had clearly been autistic before they set off. But it looked like she was very good at adjusting her mood. "What's great?" asked Lotus Sunday. "This rabbit can actually touch Rongrong's but directly." "I'm jealous," Sun Yinger said. "Rongrong, imagine if it wasn't a rabbit's ears under you but Ling Zhenren's." "Shut up." At that moment, a number of figures appeared in front of them. Lotus Sun saw a number of lizard guards passing by. These were the ordinary patrol guards on Divine Dao Star. When they saw Ah Wan's rabbit, these guards consciously moved to the side. After Divine Dao Star went out of control, the Divine Dragon Clan had organized a large number of guards. They were responsible for organizing the extraterrestrial creatures that had been accidentally swallowed by Divine Dao Star. For the time being, they were gathered somewhere and settled down. Previously, Divine Dao Star swallowed too many extraterrestrial planets, resulting in all kinds of completely different extraterrestrial creatures and civilizations on Divine Dao Star. Now that Divine Dao Star has finally returned to normal, who would have thought that it would go out of control again? Ah Wan sighed. And then she told Lotus Sunday. This rabbit was a special mount for aristocrats on Divine Dao Star, and the Divine Dragon Clan had to give way when they saw it. "So Ah Wan, you're an aristocrat now?" Lotus Sun sat steadily on the rabbit and smiled. Hey. A disguise is a disguise, but I can't disguise myself too outrageously. It won't be easy if I pretend to be a poor person. If I run into trouble, I'll have to expose my identity as a world king. Won't that be even more troublesome? Ah Wan stroked the rabbit's fur. It's much more convenient with the divine rabbit around. They will only appear in 2 places in God's domain. Which 2 places? Under the buttocks of the nobles, and in the dining hall. Ah Wan said, "The spicy rabbit head is very delicious." "F restaurant," Lotus Sun said. She felt that these rabbits were so pitiful. They are all divine rabbits who made mistakes or died of old age. They actually wish that they could be eaten. Ah Wan smiled and said, "Being eaten by the gods can allow them to enter reincarnation in advance." In front of the main city, Lotus Sun saw that emerald green figure in the distance. Loopy Toad had already been waiting there for a long time. Lord Ma's teleportation was so precise that Loopy Toad didn't have to take many detours. It had arrived roughly 15 minutes before Lotus Sun arrived. "Lotus Sun, you came so quickly, Loopy Toad." Loopy Toad jumped up and climbed onto the divine rabbit's back. Lotus Sun hugged Loopy Toad and couldn't help rubbing its face. "You guys are too slow. So why didn't you ask Lord Ma to send you here?" Loopy Toad asked. "Ah Wan took me to see a lot of Divine Dao Star scenery along the way, and I feel that this place is a little like the primeval times described in books," Lotus Sun replied. Of course, it could also be that the author wanted to reduce the number of words. Loopy Toad was enlightened. "The main city isn't like it, it's quite modern." "You've been here before? You've never eaten pork, but you've seen pigs run?" Little Master Ling came here with Miss Bai Chao and the others before, and Miss Bai Chao integrated the scenery of Divine Dao Star into her cultivation simulator, Loopy Toad said. Speaking of cultivation simulator, Loopy Toad heard that Bai Chao was about to start an open beta without deleting files, which would definitely be a hit. It remembered that Wang Ling had previously set up a character called Qin Zong. After the official open beta, this Qin Zong would appear as an NPC as an Easter egg in the game. After following Ah Wan into the main city, Lotus Sun saw a place where members of the Divine Dragon Clan would receive and stay. It looked very much like a black driver who had arrived at some city station and asked outsiders if they wanted to take a taxi. But these members of the Divine Dragon Clan didn't disturb Lotus Sun and the others. The Divine Rabbit was a symbol of aristocracy, and the aristocrats in the main city were either rich or respectable. They were very tactful and knew that they couldn't afford to provoke them. Rumble! There was a rumble up ahead, and even the ground was shaking. A team of black armor guards riding several meters long ancient lizards passed by, as if they were on urgent business. "Everyone, get out of the way." These ancient lizards were huge and fierce, but they moved extremely fast as they swiftly led the team of black armor guards forward. "Hey, it looks like something big is happening up ahead." Ah Wan frowned. The black armor guards in the heart of the city wouldn't be mobilized easily. These were all very powerful members of the Divine Dragon Clan. Once they gathered together, it meant that something big had happened that ordinary guards couldn't handle. "I can feel a resonance," Lotus Sun said at that moment. From the moment they entered the heart of the city, she had sensed mysterious sea trembling slightly. There's already a resonance? Awan was surprised. Lotus Sun nodded. She spread out Mysterious Sea's sword chi and had the divine rabbit under her lead the way in the direction of the resonance. In the process, Lotus Sun realized that they were actually following the team of black armor guards who were rushing through the market in a tyrannical manner. When they reached the place where the resonance was the strongest, the black armor stopped, and so did the divine rabbit behind them. The three women were astonished by the scene in front of them. There was actually a huge sinkhole in front of the divine palace in the heart of the city. It had a radius of over 100 zhang. Something's wrong with this sinkhole. Loopy Toad instinctively sensed the danger of this sinkhole. I'm afraid it has something to do with the Heavenly Tao Magic Cube, Lotus Sun said with certainty. She could sense that the sword chi she had emitted from Mysterious Sea was being sucked into this sinkhole in front of them. What's going on with this sinkhole? Miss Awan asked one of the black armor guards. The black armor guard was a little impatient at first, but when he saw the divine rabbit Awan was sitting on, he answered honestly, it suddenly sank in, and the number of casualties is still unknown. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and it was clear that he didn't know how to deal with the situation in front of him. Awan nodded. I order you to organize people at once. Seal off the surrounding area and evacuate the area as soon as possible. Leave this to us. She then turned her gaze to the sinkhole in front of her. This sinkhole was very dangerous, and gave off an extremely terrifying aura of nomological laws. The Heavenly Tao Magic Cube was in this sinkhole. The cause of its formation was unknown, but the only thing they could do now was to go down and find out for themselves. Rong, are you ready? Awan asked at that moment. No problem. Lotus Sun perked up. Jump. Awan then gave the order. The divine rabbit they were sitting on didn't hesitate in the slightest as it directly jumped into the sinkhole. F***K, Captain. They really jumped. I'm not seeing things right. And that human girl looks like she's only at the Foundation establishment stage. How dare she jump? Watching helplessly as Lotus Sun jumped in, one of the black armor guards was stupefied. At that moment, the captain of the black armor guards frowned and said, Stop looking. Everyone, organize people and evacuate according to that lord's orders. But they're just nobles, they don't seem to have the right to interfere with our actions. Stupid. Didn't you hear that curly-haired girl's just now? The captain of the black armor asked in return, how many old Swona players like her are there on our divine Tao star? So it's His Majesty World King. Realization dawned on all the black armor guards at that moment. But they still couldn't figure out why World King would bring a Foundation establishment girl with him. What was the use of a Foundation establishment cultivator? Coming here was courting death. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.